back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, Season 3, Episode 3, Number 54. Joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. How are we doing today, Dan?
Doing very well. How are you?
Doing good. Excited for another episode here.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Always a nice little treat every other week. And
Definitely.
I've got so many screens I'm juggling, but I do have the live chat up. I'm ready to highlight messages. We have no current backlog. Feel free to leave your questions in chat. We do not have a guest today. It's just Nick and myself. We will be announcing shortly. Nick, if you want to do the honors of who our next special guest is, 2 weeks from today, on April 20th, the 420 special guest.
Yeah, so next episode, 420, we'll be having a very special guest joining us. We've got Mr. Walrus coming to join us for the next episode, so that'll be a fun one. Got to meet him in Orlando for the first time. He was a complete mystery to me before that, but really cool guy, and we'll be able to have some nice little spicy debates with him when he comes on. So definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how he manages on the other side of the live chat. He'll be popping up on the actual screen. He's the live chat goat, I always call him. We'll see how he manages on video.
No pressure there.
G1T Landon wants to know if we're hyping Dallas. 100%. We're definitely hyping Dallas. That's gonna come up real quick. That's 4 weeks from this weekend, right? We'll actually be leaving.
It's
4 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how quickly that's coming up. It doesn't hasn't quite hit me yet. Got a lot to do to get ready for that one, but it's gonna be a really fun time. I'm curious to know how sales will go, given that we're kind of way back in the boonies for this Collecticon, compared to Orlando, where we were right up front. It'll be interesting to see how like traffic goes, and if we get the same amount of people coming up to the table that we did in Orlando.
I'm fully expecting and intending for my sales to be lower. I don't think I'll have quite as many packs in stock. I do intend to pick up some boxes in between the next 4 weeks, but I think I really pushed the limits of what I was comfortable with bringing all in one trip, and I do intend to have less.
Man, I'm surprised. Here, I thought you were going to have more. Maybe I have a fighting chance to beat you this time.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I'll still do well, but I don't anticipate selling as much as I did, because that was, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll find a bunch of great deals on boxes, and maybe I'll bring more than I think. But that was definitely pushing the limits of the amount of cash I'd want to receive and travel with, and I ended up buying a couple base boxes on the final day just to not have so much cash to bring home.
Yeah, yep. I gotta do a video on it. I gotta get back into YouTube. I gotta do your challenge video, and then I gotta do another video going over a collection that I bought. Whole bunch of alt arts. I sold a decent bit at a local show last Sunday, but the rest of them I'm gonna hold on to and bring down with me to Dallas, and hopefully those will all sell there. I think they'll do really well. It'll be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, Jake mentioned in a recent live stream that you had brought a bunch of alt arts and that they did pretty well, and you were selling through Ultra Modern Sealed pretty well. That's something I'll probably bring more of for Dallas. I'll probably bring more myself. Ultra Modern Sealed. I'll probably have Crown Zenith packs again, because those did do well in Orlando. I'll probably have Scarlet and Violet. I'll just undercut old school Pokemon by about 1 cent per pack, so be sure to check out my table instead.
Wow. I remember there was a time where you said you would never bring ultra modern packs because you're only selling them for sub $5.
Yeah.
I tried to convince you they sell really good, but you're over there, Mister. Oh, it's not worth it.
I'm not gonna bring like an insane amount, but I am quite comfortable, quite confident that whatever I bring will just sell. It is attractive to be able to just chuck out like nice $20 cash sales of 4 or 5 booster packs at a time. And then I did have with Crown Zenith, I had somebody buy like 100 all at once. I think I was doing $5 a pack, and then I did 450 for 100 of them.
Nice. There we go.
Badly Super has a question. How similar does Scarlet and Violet feel to Sword and Shield, set-wise, hit-wise, beginning of a generation? I did not interact that extensively with Sword and Shield base. I'm not really a good one to ask this. Maybe Nick will have more... I don't know if you did like a mass opening for that.
Someone didn't watch my latest video. Thanks.
I think
makes
I
me
did,
feel
though.
better that I didn't watch your Monday video now.
The Scarlet Violet one? I listened to it. I didn't watch it. I think you mentioned how you did more of this set than prior ones, but I don't remember if you said specifically like which sets you did or didn't do.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're backpedaling over there now. So for those people who did watch my video, I actually opened 42 boxes of Scarlet and Violet, which was a little bit less than I opened for. It was more than I opened for Crown Zenith, less than I opened for Silver Tempest. But yeah, so 42 boxes. Personally, I wasn't a big fan of the set.
Sword and Shield base, though.
I thought some of the arts were...
I think he's asking about Sword and Shield base comparison. That's what I was saying. I did watch your video about opening Scarlet and Violet base, but I maybe this is to the Sword and Shield generation as a whole.
Sword and Shield base. I did not do mass openings of Sword and Shield base now.
So yeah, you're calling me out when I'm right on track with what the question. Unless I might be taking the question wrong. Maybe it's Sword and Shield block as a whole, but Sword and Shield block as a whole is fairly diverse, I think. So you can't. I think this is more like Scarlet and Violet base to Sword and Shield base. I could be wrong though.
From that standpoint, it's a decent set. As far as like a base set goes, I think it is better than Sun and Moon base, Sword and Shield base, stuff like that. But as like going from the end of Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, for me was a big letdown. But being that it is a base set, it kind of does make sense. My thinking is that Pokemon wanted to make the pull rates really easy for Scarlet and Violet, where it was a base set, to kind of get everyone accustomed to the new cards, the new rarities, all of that stuff. And then hopefully, as we go through the Scarlet and Violet era, we'll start to see those like chase cards that we saw towards the end of Sword and Shield, where the chase cards are harder to get. I know with my opening, I opened 42 boxes. I pulled multiple copies of every single card, except for one of the illustration rare, just like the old character rare cards. I pulled one of those, but everything from the main set, all like the big chase cards, like the Merimium, Altart, the Gardevoir, all of that stuff, pulled between like 3 and 8 copies of all those cards. So pull rates were really easy. Pricing on those cards is absolutely tanking right now, which makes sense given the easy pull rates.
And that's what sets normally do out of the gate too. Like pre-release pricing, rate at release pricing is usually high, and then they go down out of the gate. So I think the big thing that's throwing people off guard is like there's no card over $100, which historically speaking, like that was always the norm. Like cards over $100 out of the gate at release, even that out of the gate at release, like that was atypical, but now it's become more of the norm with like the chase alt art for the set. But it's like this one set drops with easier to pull rates and everyone's just losing their minds.
I think I don't pay super close attention to the pricing at release, but I do think pricing is so pricing does drop quickly for modern sets. But I think pricing is dropping quicker with this set than it did previously. I know I got everything listed for midnight Thursday going into Friday, and come Friday night, I'm sorry, come Saturday night, I was already cutting my pricing down 50% on some cards, which seems a little excessive, but yeah. Luckily I was able to sell a whole bunch Friday, Saturday morning, so that was good. But it'll be interesting to see how sales go with Scarlet and Violet for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully as we go through Scarlet and Violet, the pull rates will get back to normal, and they don't keep these easy pull rates. That's what I'm hoping for.
And I think people were just calibrated. People were calibrated to like the alt arts being 1 out of 1,000 or 2,000 packs, whatever they may be. So if you opened one box and you hit a Miriam, if you hit a one of the alt arts, the big alt arts, you just thought you got insanely lucky. So you threw it on eBay, and then you were upset when it wasn't hundreds of dollars as you thought it would be, calibrated for like the end of Sword and Shield era. But when everyone was opening a box or 2 or 3 and getting just triple or quadruple the pulls that they would normally get when it comes to those hardest to pull cards, that's why the pricing like overreacted more so than normal, I would think.
Yeah. Yep.
Gengar's Den has a question. How do you manage your cards that you sell at conventions that are also listed on eBay? Do you delete them when you get back in town? Any other advice on this topic would be helpful. I managed it poorly for Orlando, and I'm going to do better for Dallas. So I'm going to quantity zero them. I'm going to list them as out of stock when I take them down. It's only going to be like, I mean, it will be probably 150, 200 cards. It'll take a little bit of time. But what I tried doing in Orlando, I tried just selling everything and then coming back, and one, I didn't keep good records of what actually sold. I took a couple of pictures here and there of like my buyouts, and I delisted all those. But there were a lot of one-off cards that sold, onesie twosies, that I completely forgot about. I ended up double selling them either that weekend, or I just had to refund someone like yesterday for a card they bought that I'm pretty sure I sold in Orlando. I either sold it in Orlando or I just can't find it. It could be here. Like, I need to do a full inventory at some point soon. And honestly, probably what I'm going to do the week going into Dallas, I'll probably do a full inventory, validate everything, and I'll pull down all the things that I'm going to bring to Dallas, and I'm going to try to price them pretty aggressively so that I don't bring them home. But whatever I do bring home, then I'll just pop them back up on eBay. So there's a little bit on like how I used to do it and how it failed and how I intend to do it for the next one. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way as you. I originally tried doing like writing down everything that I sold at a convention and then delisting it off of eBay when I got back home. That proved to be a terrible strategy. So I started to do what you said you were going to do, making the quantity on all of those listings basically what I keep at home, or zero if I'm bringing all those cards. And then when I get back home, just kind of update the quantities after that. That seems to be the best way to go about that.
E-Unit wants to know how the 99-cent Scarlet Violet singles are selling.
Singles are actually doing pretty good. Another video I got to do at some point is talk about some changes that I recently did. So I'm no longer selling on TCG Player. I recently stopped doing that. Got to be way too much work. So I'm basically doing, so for Scarlet and Violet, all of the hits were listed on eBay. All of the reverse hollows, the hollows, were listed on eBay as individual cards. And then I did complete like hollow, uncommon, common sets and complete reverse hollow sets. I didn't list any of the commons and the uncommons as individual cards on eBay. So that's gonna be my new strategy moving forward. But single, like the hit card singles are doing really well. The hollows are doing decently well. I think because where you get a hollow in every pack now, those cards are going to become cheaper. Reverse hollows are doing pretty good as well. And then I've sold an unbelievable amount of the complete sets, so that's been a good play right there. Selling the complete base set for. I started out at 50, now I'm down to 40. The reverse hollow set I started at 150, now I'm down to 125. And I've sold I think I've sold like 6 reverse hollow sets and maybe like 15, 20 of the regular sets. So I've been happy with that.
Nice. Mr. Walrus says you can't keep feeding us concepts and ideas. We need actual videos. We need actual content. You've been
It'll happen. It's gonna happen.
You've been all over the place. You've been. I'm doing Whatnot again. I'm gonna do Whatnot every week, every month. I'm back to YouTube, guys. I'm gonna be bringing you weekly videos, daily Instagram posts. You're all over the place.
Hey, I've been keeping up with my daily Instagram posts. Been doing good with that. YouTube, not so much.
You gotta get back into it. You gotta make it a habit, and then you'll be stuck in it, hopefully. Gengar's Den wants to know if we ever use the time away function on eBay. I think it's called vacation mode, or maybe I'm mixing up with some other platform. But I have used it. If I ever were to travel longer than like my 1-day handling time, I would. Nice thing about Collecticon is if I fly out Friday morning and I'm back by Monday, I really don't have to. So that's the route that I usually take. I did push it a little bit with Orlando. I went, I think I did put, there are 2 ways to do it. There's one where they can't buy and there's one where they can. So I think with Orlando, I put it up for 2 days where they could buy still. So if they were to buy, they would get a notification that like, hey, the seller's away until this date. Your order might be delayed in shipping. No one reads that. So some amount of people are going to buy and then be frustrated when they're not like getting the card 3 hours after they press pay. So yeah, there is that function. Be careful with it because people aren't going to read it if you do the one where they can still buy. I use it periodically, but I won't have to for Dallas because I'm just going down from Friday to Monday.
Similar thing for me. I do use it for every Collecticon. Mainly because I always go Friday through Monday. So I fly home on Monday, and the last thing I want to do is package orders when I get home on Monday. So I always set it where I'm going to be away. I always schedule it like Friday or Thursday, the day before I leave. So it says I'm away from Thursday until Monday, so orders will ship out on the following Tuesday. I do the one where people can purchase stuff from you still. You do get those emails from different people saying, hey, why hasn't my item shipped? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. So people definitely don't read that banner. There is another one where you can actually schedule time away and say you want to make people not sell anything. So people can still view your listing, but they can't actually purchase your listing. I would strongly advise against ever doing that. I did that for a while, and I forget which event I went to where I did that for the last time. But it really does throw off your whole like sales rhythm on eBay. And it takes you a while to build that momentum back up. Once you kind of lose that sales momentum, it takes a while to build that back up. So at least with the time away where people can still purchase stuff, you still have at least a few sales coming in. And then when you reopen your eBay store completely, it doesn't take as long to kind of build back up to where you left off.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember back when you used to make videos, you talked about that in the actual video where I think you might have even showed your 30-day like bar charts or something. Maybe not. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But I definitely remember talking to you about where you suffered, like the eBay algorithm punished you. You don't take any time off.
Yeah,
You got to be here selling all the time or we're going to punish you.
that's exactly it. eBay doesn't like to give you days off.
Yeah. Basic wants to know if Cinco de Mayo will be the highlight of Dallas Collecticon. Yeah, that Friday is Cinco de Mayo, right? I cannot
That
and
is
will not.
that is May 5th.
I will not do tequila shots. I do not do tequila. uh, maybe I'll drink some Dos Equis or something, but ugh, no tequila for me.
What about some margaritas or Coronas?
Coronas, I'm not a big fan, but Coronas or Dos Equis or something, but not tequila.
Hmm.
In a margarita,
Not even in a
may
margarita.
I'm not a huge fan.
Oh man, I love margaritas. I will definitely be partaking in some Cinco de Mayo festivities.
Um, Walrus says people get what they want, achievable sets, and they hate it. Pokemon can't hit a moving target. The nerds keep moving. I like it. Yeah, it's funny. Like, hey, this it's way too expensive. This is insane. 1 out of 2,000 for a pull rate for a Moonbreon for things like that. This is crazy. And then they make it so the rarest card is what 1 in 300 packs or something. And then people just people are going to be upset. And it's not everybody. Some people love it. Like some people absolutely love it. Some people are more on about the quality control and all that. You're never gonna please everybody though. And the people who are unhappy are the louder ones. So no matter what change you make, there's always going to be some vocal group that is not happy with it.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing we didn't touch on with Scarlet and Violet. The quality control, the print quality of those cards is god awful.
Yeah,
They went way downhill from Crown Zenith.
I pulled the Miriam Altar for it was actually for Zard Hunt, and
Mhm.
the back was like I felt so bad because on the stream I didn't really look at stuff, and then afterwards I made this short out of it, and I looked at it, and it had like a roller line along the bottom back edge. It was way off center. It had whitening, like whitening and off center alone. It was a PSA 8. The roller mark might make it a 6. Like that's rough. You get the hit, and then it's a PSA 6 quality.
Yeah, that's awful.
Shiny Typhoon 96. Does your eBay get flagged when you do mass takedowns of listings? I don't think eBay would flag anything. Like, I mean, some people go on long vacations. Some people quit selling on eBay. So if you were to just take everything down, I don't think eBay. I mean, they're probably not going to like it. They'd rather you keep everything up and listed and selling. But if you take everything down, actually the exact opposite of that. If you have a dormant eBay account and just overnight you list like 1,000 high value things, I think eBay is more likely to flag an account for that because sometimes like old accounts will get like hijacked where they have selling history from months or years ago, and somebody will use like a leaked password from one of the like the database leaks that happen, and they'll log into the account and they'll list like PlayStation 5s or iPhones or booster boxes, like things that are very liquid, high volume, and high value, so that they can just try to get away with the money.
Yeah, I can't see that being a thing. I know with myself, I always like I use the out of stock feature on all of my listings. And it's nice for those listings that you have additional stock of, but on listings where you don't have the additional stock of, you have to manually end those listings. So there's times where I'll go through and end 200-300 listings at once, and because the quantity of them is all zero and I don't have any more quantity, and I've never noticed anything happen because of that.
See a very important message I have to highlight. Basic Trainer says, if you see me in Dallas and give me a wilderness pack, I will buy you a shot. The retail value of a wilderness pack as of today is about $1.50. And I don't know what shots go for at bars in Dallas, but probably more like $8 to $10. So wilderness packs are very plus EV. I expect 4 weeks from today, 4 weeks from tomorrow, I expect wilderness packs to instantly 6x because your $1.50 is going to turn into a $9 shot. So that's some financial advice right there for you. As long as Basic's true to his word.
You're going to have to buy cases of wilderness boxes off of you.
Oof. Yeah, I might have to bring, I've got a lot of wilderness packs kicking around. Not that I want the shots myself, but I'll be selling them for like $3 or $4 in person so that I can double up and you can double up. We can all make money and we can run Basic out of money.
Basic, you're gonna regret saying that.
I put it on screen too, so he's gotta stand by it, or it's gonna get clipped and he's gonna get called out.
Oh man.
Mr. Walrus asks, since this is your full time, when you're in chat of other lives, does it feel like work or hobby? What's the vibe? Oh man, we got Amplitude coming in with 50 gifted memberships. I'm gonna have to.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to make the Balba butt emote something on this stream too. I've got it on my channel, but he's dropping gifted subs like crazy. But it's work that I enjoy doing. It's all work, right? And anything related to Pokemon, it's all work. Even when I'm playing Pokemon Snap, when I'm playing Super Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, that's real work right there.
That's all R&D, right? That's all me. That's like when I was a chemical engineer, I used to read some different publications. I used to read scholarly articles. Now my research, instead of that kind of stuff, it's just like playing Pokemon Snap, playing Super Smash Brothers Melee, or not Melee. What is it? Super Smash Brothers Ultimate or something for the Switch. But yeah, that's just that's R&D. I've got to stay fresh. I've got to stay on the cutting edge. So it's work, but I enjoy it.
That's a stretch right there. Yeah, no, I don't listen to too many lives when they're actually live, but then I'll go back and listen to them afterwards. Mainly because I don't like getting caught up in the chat
and then getting nothing done.
Not be productive whatsoever.
Yeah, it is tough. There's times where I'll put on a live.
I like being able to.
I'll just put on a live and I'll try to pretend that it's not live. Like I'll just minimize it. I'll have the chat closed so I can't see it. But then something is said and I just get roped in. It's like, oh man, I know chat's got to be wiling about this, so let me hop in.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I need to have something to listen to in the background. So I definitely do like listening to all the lives and stuff like that. Unlike Dan, I don't know if I consider it work.
I'm going to let you take this one first because I don't have my crystal ball handy. But Andy the Champ wants to know, what would you each consider the best Pokemon card to own/hold long term for value growth over the next 5 to 10 years? If your choice has to be from 2004 to 2022. So basically non-WotC, English, Japanese, best card, what should I buy for investment 5 to 10 years?
So for me, this thing like I don't buy. I sit like modern product aside for the long term, like booster boxes. I bought a bunch of celebrations packs recently to set aside. So for me, it would be celebrations. I don't know if that's a right answer there, but I'm very bullish on celebrations for the long term. I do the sealed products. I do the single cards. Just really liked that set. But if I had to pick one singular card, that would be a tough one. I honestly think I would go back to like the EX era. Maybe like one of the cheaper PSA 10 Gold Stars, PSA 10 Charizard EX from Fire Red Leaf Green. Those kinds of cards seem relatively cheap compared to everything else right now. So I think for me that's what it would be.
Before I answer, I just want to say thank you to Programmer X, who gifted 5 memberships and also joined the PokeFlipz. But with that, yeah, let me. I don't like these questions. This is very much a crystal ball. Here. Very much a crystal ball question, non-Watsy. I think there are things. Undervalued is like a relative term. I think there's nothing in this market that I feel comfortable owning as an investment. I say it all the time. Some people push back and tell me, oh man, you have such a big Pokemon inventory. You're investing in Pokemon. No, I'm not. I'm just flipping in it. I'm doing business in it. I have a big inventory, but there are certain things that I think are underappreciated relative to others. It would not be a black label. It would not be... Honestly, cheating side of the answer is like buying it raw, not paying the massive premium built in. But like, there are champion stamped cards that are one of 6 in the world awarded, going for less than the Japanese Champion Festival right now. There are Art Academy cards, one of 100 in the world awarded, going for less than like Pikachu promos with 1,000 PSA 10 pop. So those things are more relatively undervalued. But I'm not like I don't consider those a good investment. I would not buy an Art Academy for $3,000 to $5,000, considering that a good buy and hold investment for 10 years. No one wants to hear it, but I would, instead of putting $5K, I would put $5K into a Roth or traditional IRA into the S&P 500, and I would much more believe that performing for me as an investment over time, over 5 to 10 years, especially over 20 to 50 years. So. No one wants to hear that, but I gave you a couple little examples. Other than that, I don't know. So much of it's just so expensive. It's hard for me to even try to find things that are relatively undervalued because overall, like relative to non-Pokemon, Pokemon just feels really expensive on all fronts pretty much. That said, there's relative value. And for me personally, I don't have concern over a 5 to 10 year time span because I'm just trying to buy things shorter time frames. I'm looking to sell everything I buy within a year to 2 years, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Zard Lurking says, have you ever had a person win an auction on eBay with a new account who doesn't ever pay or respond to messages? It seems like pulling teeth for eBay to close accounts who never pay for auctions. Yeah, I wish eBay was better about punishing buyers that don't buy, that don't pay. But it is what it is. All you can do, I have pretty aggressive settings for not allowing people to bid or buy if they have X amount of unpaid item strikes. And if someone bids, I don't run many auctions, so I don't run into it that much. But if someone buys an item and doesn't pay, I hit them with the unpaid item strike. I will never cancel it. There's no excuse. I don't care. Whatever your excuse is, it doesn't matter. eBay unpaid item strike exists for a reason. So a lot of people will just lie to you, so you can't believe any story anyways. But there is no story that will get me to... If it's someone that I know that says, oh, I clicked the button by... It's funny. I actually have one story. Like Pokemon Radar a few years ago during the boom, I accidentally, in my pocket while I was mowing my lawn, clicked buy it now on a trophy Kangaskhan that he had listed. So like... He messaged me on like Instagram or something. He's like, hey Dan, why'd you buy? I saw you bought this. Why'd you buy this on eBay? Like, why didn't you just hit me up? And I'm like, I can't believe it. I get this story all the time. It wasn't my kid. It wasn't my dog. It was me in my pocket while I was mowing my lawn. So if John, honestly, I wouldn't have held it against John. If John had told me you bought it, I'm going to let it go to an unpaid item. it would have been funny because we're like friends, and it would have been funny. I honestly would have laughed if he had told me that, and I would have accepted it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I bought the item and I didn't pay. I deserve an unpaid item strike. So if Nick messaged me like, hey, I was mowing my lawn and I pocket bought one of your items, can you please cancel it? I would cancel that, but I would not cancel anything else under like any circumstance, just because of that funny story I have from a few years ago. But yeah, unpaid item strikes exist for a reason. There's a way to do a setting where if someone's had X amount of unpaid item strikes within a certain time frame that they can't bid on your items, I would suggest enabling that so that but one of the big issues is I see it all the time in Discord. I see it all the time that people say like, this person said they're not going to pay, I'm going to accept their cancellation because I don't want them to negative me or something. Every time you let a buyer get away with that, you don't allow my settings to like scoop up, because if they don't get that on their record, if they don't get that mark on the record of unpaid item strike, other sellers basically filters can't filter them out. So yeah, that's where I'm at. A lot of good could come from people punishing buyers who don't pay, but a lot of sellers just let them get away with it.
Yeah, I can't stand the number of non-paying buyers on eBay. It's not bad with buy it now stuff. With auctions, it's constant. So just like Dan said, make your settings. I would recommend the strictest settings possible. That's what I do, which is it's 2 unpaid item strikes in the past year. Is what I do. So that basically prevents anyone with 2 unpaid item strikes within the past year from being able to purchase any of your items. But I normally do like you, Dan, and anyone who messages me saying, hey, I bought this by mistake, my kid bid on it, whatever, just a generic response saying, you have 4 days to pay. If you're unable to do that within that time frame, I'll cancel the transaction at that point as a non-paying buyer. I did run into a circumstance with Scarlet and Violet that I'd be curious to know if you would change your thoughts on. So with the Scarlet and Violet release, I had someone make me an offer on all 5 Merimiums for $95, pretty much right when I listed it. So someone sent me an offer, all 5 of them. I accepted that offer, and then they immediately sent me a message saying, hey, I didn't mean to buy this. Can you cancel the transaction? Normally, I would say no to them, but because it was so soon after release of Scarlet and Violet, I knew those cards were going to go down, and I knew they would sell well. I did cancel the transaction.
You want to hear what the pro strat is for that? Kind of risky, but also the pro strat. So you decline canceling, and then you relist them. So you put your neck out there a little bit, because then if someone else buys them and then they ultimately end up paying, then you're in a sticky spot where you don't have enough cards to fulfill the order. But I've done that. I've had someone buy a card out of the gate that I knew was gonna go down a bunch. I was pretty sure was gonna go down a bunch. So I said, no, I'm not accepting the cancellation. I relist it, same price, slightly lower to get it moved. Buy, sell, pay, ship it, all that. 4 days later, they get their mark that they're supposed to get. So that's a risky thing, because if they ultimately do decide to pay in the 4 days, then you're in a weird spot. But if they decide to pay 3 days later, you can just the card's going to tank over the weekend, so you can just source some at a lower price. You're almost functionally shorting the card. You're doing options trading with cardboard at that point.
I like it. I'm gonna do that next time.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, it looks like Andy. Yeah, Andy asked the same question twice, I guess. Ray Q says, hey guys, long-time listener, first-time caller with a question. If you had to move to another TCG full-time, what would it be and why? If you want to take this one first.
Ooh. Me? Switching to another TCG. I I've always said I want to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one after kind of the Pokemon craze died down. That was one that I got into right after Pokemon, and for that one, it was more so like playing the actual game. It wasn't collecting the cards as much. It was more so playing it, and really enjoyed that. So I've said for the longest time I want to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's never happened because there is no extra time. But I guess if I had to get out of Pokemon and move into another TCG, I think I would go to Yu-Gi-Oh.
MetaZoo.
Let's hear your MetaZoo talk now.
MetaZoo. No, honestly, like I really do enjoy MetaZoo. I'm having a fun time with MetaZoo right now. I wouldn't want to do solely MetaZoo full time though, and that's not because it's MetaZoo. It's because it's not Pokemon. I have a nostalgic tie to Pokemon. It's such a huge part of my life. So many great memories, and I like MetaZoo, but I don't have that same connection to it. I do not have that connection to Yu-Gi-Oh, to Magic, to nothing else. Coins maybe. Honestly, like I know he said TCG. So the closest TCG, honestly, would be MetaZoo. Part of that is like a business decision because I do have partner access. I do have like wholesale direct access to MetaZoo. So that would be like a big business decision why. If it wasn't Pokemon, it would lean towards MetaZoo. But I really wouldn't want to. I really enjoy Pokemon the most. It's the biggest part of my business. I like MetaZoo being kind of the second thing there. A little bit of diversity. That collection that I bought over the winter, really cool. Looking at Dragon Ball, looking at Yu-Gi-Oh, looking at Naruto. Interesting, neat, but not for me, like full-time. I just couldn't do them full-time because I'm not as invested, not nearly. And I don't think I could get as invested into them. So yeah, for me, if anything, it would be MetaZoo, but I really wouldn't want to do that solely alone full-time. I'm enjoying it, but I don't have the lifelong tie to it. When Evolving Skies came out,
Surprised.
What's that?
Go ahead. I was gonna say I'm surprised. I thought you were gonna be stonking MetaZoo real hard.
No, I enjoy it, and it's what I do second in line to Pokemon overall. So I mean that's like the obvious answer from a business perspective. But I don't ever think the need will come. I don't think Pokemon's gonna die in the next few years or anything. So it's a purely hypothetical question. But yeah, that's where I'm at on it. Coffee Yo wants to know, when Evolving Skies came out, did you guys know it will do well or just thought it was another modern set? I didn't think too deeply on it. I don't think too deeply on any of them. In hindsight, everyone will say, oh, it's so obvious. There were evolutions and this and that and XYZ. And it's so obvious that the booster box would be $400. People didn't know that because it's supply and demand at the end of the day. If they printed that thing into the ground, and they did print a lot of it. They printed a lot of it, but not enough. If they printed 10 times more than they did, that box would be $120 and no one would be buying it. Some people will disagree with that, but you're wrong. Supply and demand still exists. Even good sets can be overprinted. So yeah, for me, it was like, yeah, this is another modern set. I like all these sets. I thought Scarlet and Violet was fun. I really like Celebrations a lot. Even the sets that aren't deemed so stonky, so amazing, I really enjoy them all. As far as relative to the value and buying a bunch as a consumer, I'm not really doing much consumption of it. I'm enjoying flipping it. I'm enjoying the arts and all that. But as far as spending $120 on a booster box and opening 36 packs and what you actually get for it, like, it's all expensive. It's a lot of money. Even right out of the gate at like normal pricing, if you really think about it, for $10 worth of cardboard, shiny cardboard, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, Evolving Skies came out at a weird time because during that time, box prices were already so high. You were selling Battle Styles Chilling Rain boxes for like $120, $130 at release. So for me, I didn't look into the set at all. I didn't open a single box. I just immediately got them in and immediately sold them off at that. It was like 120, 130 mark. So I didn't really pay much attention to the set. I may have thought more highly of it if it was like a normal set where I actually opened it and saw the cards and stuff like that. But I just did not pay any attention to the set at all and sold my boxes right out of the gate and didn't look back from there.
I just saw one of the questions that we'll eventually get to that PK asked. I'll be sure to throw it up on screen. Retrospecs asks, thoughts on the negative correlation between time spent on Discord and your 90-day. Nick and I were actually comparing 90 days, and I spend more time every day on Discord than Nick does, and his 90-day does beat mine, so it must be true. It must be true. But yeah, like, obviously, it's one of those things where it's like mostly a joke question, but you can actually take it to some kind of a useful conversation around something like serious. I think a lot of people, I'm assuming he's talking a little bit towards like analysis paralysis. I think a lot of people watch a ton of lives, ask a bunch of questions, and really go way too deeply without action. It's like they think and overthink what should they do, what's the optimal way to do things, and then a week later, a month later, they've not done anything yet. And I think the best teacher is experience. So getting in there, getting your hands dirty, buying a couple things, seeing how they flip, seeing how it goes, grade some cards yourself, just get in there and do something, I think is oftentimes the best teacher. Know the risks and do it with like a known amount of money, a fixed budget. Make sure you limit your risk, because if you're grading for the first time, I think you're better off grading maybe 10 to 20 cards, not like a 500 card order that you're going to come back and get all sixes and get wrecked on. So yeah, absolutely. Analysis paralysis is present in the hobby, in the community, and I do it myself from time to time. Sometimes you just got to get out there and start making the plays.
Well, exactly. Biggest thing is to start. For me, I would just add. I think Discord, YouTube lives, all of that stuff where you're like interacting with people in real time, are the worst distractions for when you're trying to be productive.
Absolutely.
I cannot be talking in Discord or talking in a YouTube live when I'm trying to get stuff listed on eBay. It takes me so much longer to do the same amount of listings, just because I have like that like background distraction. So if you are listing stuff on eBay, make that like your exclusive priority. Listen to something in the background, but don't interact with it at all.
Yeah, for sure. That's like the general story of life, right? Like there's all these different distractions. You can always just like sit on the couch and turn on TV, but you should be like exercising and educating yourself on, not even just in Pokemon, like just in life in general. Like there's always something you can do to improve yourself, and there's always all these different distractions, and you need to, it's all just about balance, right? You need to have a fun, happy life. You need to enjoy yourself. But if you get carried away, like doing things that aren't productive, you're just going to really negatively see. And I mean, Retro's talking about his 90-day sales history on eBay is a very quick metric to see if you've been slacking, right? It's, Rusty just said, quit distracting me in the live chat. Yeah. Let's see. Thoughts on English and Japanese booster box MSRP secondary value normally when a set drops. $144 is, well, $144 was the Sword and Shield MSRP for English. Now it's like $160, whatever, versus $45 for, if you do the conversion, I think it's actually less. I think the USD equivalent of a Japanese booster box MSRP is closer to like $38 these days, because I think it's 4,500 yen, which it used to be 100 yen to $1. Now it's more like 120 yen or something to $1. So 110, 120. So, but English typically sells for under. So with MSRP of 144 to 160, English boxes sell for less. Like Scarlet and Violet right now is going for around 120. Whereas, what are our newest Japanese sets? You have Triplet Beat was one. Triplet Beat is selling for like over 100. And then you have those two brand new sets. I forget what they're called. I should
forget what they're called. They're expensive though.
Hundreds of dollars, and the MSR, they're like 8 times MSRP, or like 5 to 8 times MSRP. So yeah, what are your general thoughts on that? And Ghetto's just asking, basically, isn't it weird? It's very weird. There are crazy things going on right now. We had more of that in 2020, 2021, whereas Japanese is getting it a little bit lagging. They're getting it a little bit behind. Be careful out there is all I would say, I guess. Obviously, the more you pay, if you're paying 5 times retail, if you're paying 5 times suggested retail, it's a lot further way down if and when Japan can get the print runs to satisfy demand, right? Like, demand is very fickle. People want stuff they can't have. So when the price starts going up on something, the price goes up because the price goes up. If and when the price goes down, and people think like right now, look at the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection. If that thing was printed to a lower amount, and if it was just 150, 180, it's like something starts running to 150 and then it just goes right to 200 because it goes up, so it goes up. It's this crazy dynamic that we have in Pokemon where people want what they can't have, and when they can have it for sub retail, even close to wholesale pricing, they just don't want it as much. Like, how many people right now are buying Charizard UPCs? Some amount of people are. I'm buying them every week. I've been buying them every week that they've been available for my distributor. 3 cases at $84.50 a box. But a lot of people are just, instead of buying that, they're shunning that. They're shunning Charizard UPCs at distributor pricing when they're buying Japanese boxes at like 5-6 times retail. It's kind of crazy to me. Demand almost goes up as price goes up in some instances. So those are some of my general thoughts. A little bit rambly, a little bit ranty, but I mean, the solution is to print more, but they're printing like 10 billion cards a year and it's not enough. So I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to end, but it could get ugly.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on with Japanese stuff right now. It is getting so much more expensive than the English cards, which is, it's kind of wild to me. One thing I do wonder is, like, obviously for us to get Japanese boxes in the US, it costs a lot of money to ship the boxes from Japan to the US. So we'll never see that kind of floor price that Japanese people can see. But is that the same in Japan? Like, are English boxes as crazy in Japan as they are like Japanese boxes in the US? I have no idea on that, but I'd be curious to know whether that's a thing.
No
maybe
idea.
It's just, maybe part of it is just because of location and accessibility of that product. I would think that's a small extent of it, but there's definitely something else going on with modern Japanese boxes, because those are getting really expensive.
Yeah, Rusty says the worst is when they cancel right after they won. You have to accept the cancellation, or you have to call in after 4 days to get the item fully removed from awaiting payment. I have 2 or 3 items in my awaiting payment that are like over a month old, over 2 months old, because one of them was like a weird GSP thing where they bought it and then they realized what the shipping and customs fees were going to be, so they wouldn't pay. And then I didn't have a way to unpaid item strike them, because I can't send an invoice. I can't send a payment reminder for whatever reason. Like, it's like I'm going to have to call somebody at eBay and get them to strike that person, because I think I have 2 or 3 in my awaiting payment that are really old, but they're GSP or international shipping, so I can't do anything about it. And then I might have one that was like a consignment card that I sent to auction that went unpaid, and for whatever reason, like, it didn't unpaid item strike them either. I don't know, but I always try to follow through with the unpaid item strikes so that my own filter can catch them, and so that everyone else's filter. Like, I try to do what's best for the community of eBay as a whole, because yeah, that stuff is just so frustrating. Retro, I didn't want to say something, but I see you went back with Retro in chat. Can Nick stop calling Miriam Miranium? I wonder if Miriam has an Entei.
Hey, it's part of my brand, okay?
If Miriam had an Entei, then we'd be in real business. Miriam's Entei. Miriam's Etnies.
Oh.
Jacob says, question, thoughts on collecting raw cards in PSA 7-ish condition? Seems way more value for your buck. Would it be better long-term compared to the already high prices of graded PSA 9s to 10s? It's all about like what you enjoy is my answer. I started collecting PSA 9s because that's where I found the most value. And more recently, I've just been doing binders. And then more recently yet, I have too many binders. I wanted to have every complete set of Pokemon from base set to current. And I'm just realizing that I'm not going to have that because the cards are worth more than I value them, even in PSA 7 condition. I just can't justify it. So I'm going to have some one-off binders here and there that I decide to assemble. I'm actually enjoying assembling some binders with my kids of just flashy, cool-looking cards that they open from modern sets. But I'm hitting my like peak flipper stage where everything is just inventory except for a handful of graded cards that I have a nostalgic tie to, and then my childhood binder that's all raw. But yeah, like at the end of the day, if you're talking investment, I don't really have any answer for you. If you're talking just value as far as like how you enjoy it, that's completely personal.
Yeah, I've always preferred building binder sets than graded card sets. I think it's more nostalgic. It's easier to look through a binder than it is 100 graded cards. Takes up less space. So I was always a fan of building binder sets than PSA graded sets. So if and it is going to be a lot cheaper to build a PSA 7-ish condition binder set than it would be to build a PSA 9 set of the same set. So you're gonna be saving a lot of money going that route, and I think it looks better, in my opinion.
And there are I've got to highlight this comment quick. Dan, I've hit peak flipper stage. Also, Dan, grades 4 copies of Dan. See, I can collect. I can justify having in my personal collection a PSA 10 Dan that my cost basis is $0 for the card and then $9 for the grading. Those ones are ones that I graded back. That was Rebel Clash, so that was graded pre-COVID, all that. That was in my $9 bulk subs or whatever. But anyways, yeah, going back to the question Jacob had, there are one-off times where like Troll and Toad near mint or TCG player near mint on a card will be like $50, and you can catch a random auction that goes for like 30 of a PSA 8. So there are random times where you can find more value in a PSA case of just like a poorly timed auction or a ill-advised auction of a card that just no one ends up seeing and bidding on. So I think people always want rules of thumb. I find myself saying this all the time. People always want rules of thumb, like what grade is the best value? It's card by card, day by day, because there can always very, very, very unoptimized market. This isn't stocks, right? Any given card on any given day can go for like an absurdly undervalued price relative to recent data points. So you can't pin yourself. If you pin yourself to one grade, it's fine too. You can only collect PSA 10s, you can only collect PSA 8s, whatever you want to do. But if you pin yourself to one grade, one company, you're going to spend more than if you're more free and open to just collecting various conditions, various grades. Because depending on the day,
Yep.
you might be able to snag a PSA 9 auction for super cheap, or you might be able to just buy it now, a low listed TCG player, and end up getting like a raw mint, gem mint copy. It just varies so much every day. Andy the Champ. Question, do you feel the Mario/Luigi Full Art Pikachu Japanese promos are currently overvalued or undervalued in near mint raw condition? If you had an opportunity to trade into them using ultra modern PSA 10s already within your collection, would you? I don't know what these cards are going for in near mint raw compared to like their graded counterparts. I do see though, like on top 10 Pokemon, I see all the time, and I see what these things are going for in auction. I actually have a half art. I have a half art Mario Pikachu that I was gifted in a Secret Santa years ago when it was like a $30 card, and I don't sell gifts, and it's like it feels weird holding onto this card that's worth like $1,500 now that was worth almost nothing years ago. But I can't say the word undervalued and Mario, Luigi, Pikachu in the same sentence, even though I just did, because to me, like when we were talking earlier, for the price points that these are going for, and I get it. I love Mario. I love the entire IP, the entire franchise. Movie just came out yesterday. My son can't wait to go to it. My son loves Mario, loves Pikachu. Next week, school's off around where I live at least. So we're gonna go see the Mario movie, and I get it. Mario, Pikachu, crossing those two massive IPs. It's like it's so much money though. It's so much money. I could see futures 10, 20 years from now where those things just keep going up and up and up. I could also see futures where there's just, for the same price point, there's things that are so much more historic, so much more like actual, like rarer trophy type cards, things like that, less than 100 copies, less than 10 copies in some instances. So to me, like, I would lean towards overvalued. That said, overvalued doesn't mean it's not going to continue going up. Like, it's crazy what those things are doing right now. How much of it's the movie? How much of it's the Chinese buyers buying high-end Japanese 10s? It's some amount of both, right? But at the end of the day, the second half of the question, ultra modern PSA 10s, and I mean, I would call these ultra modern PSA 10s, right? I would love having either in my inventory because I know that the liquidity is high on both. I would love to have cards, either one of those. I'd love to have because they sell quick. So if I had PSA 10 Mario Pikachus right now, I would sell them at today's market price. If I had PSA 10s of ultra modern Pokemon, I would sell them today at market price. So either one of these is inventory that's being sold immediately, and I'm very happy to make that sale. So where are you at on that?
I have a similar take like you. I think they're both really cool cards. I do like them a lot, but the price points seem high compared to when I first bought my box sets. I forget, it was dirt cheap, and then I was able to sell them for like 4,500, 5,000, and I recently sold two PSA 10s of the Mario Luigi, the full arts, for I think it was like 6,500 for the two of them, somewhere in that range. So they are expensive cards right now compared to back when they first came out. They were readily available and really cheap, but at the same time, I can kind of see why they're so expensive, because it is a combination of Pikachu and Mario. I think that's a really cool combination, and there's a lot of interest in both Pokemon and in Mario, so it kind of makes sense that there's a big appeal for those cards. But yeah, it's I think I would be like you and be a seller at both of those cards. But I think I would do that trade. Selling ultra modern 10s for those two cards. I think I would do that trade, just because the Mario and Luigi Pikachu, that was 2016. So I think it's still newer-ish, but at the same time, those cards have kind of a proven track record where your ultra modern 10s are still so new, and there's still going to be so many of those cards sent off to PSA for grading. I would have more faith in the Mario Pikachu cards.
It's just so crazy because, like, it's all relative, right? It's all cardboard. The intrinsic value is all zero, but $4,500 for a PSA 10 full art Mario Pikachu, and there's 1,000 PSA 10s. That's that. I'm just not a consumer for that. I'm not a consumer for that. I'm not an investor for that. Maybe I'm the crazy one, but to me, like you put $4,500 in a tax advantaged account and you run it against that PSA 10 Mario Pikachu full art over a 25-year time span. I know which one I'm on the side of. But all that said, Mario Pikachu could be like 50K in 10 years. I don't, or 20 years. I don't think it will be, but theoretically it could. Because then look at sports. Look at that. That's what a lot of people do. Look at sports. These cards that are millions of dollars. Like, I don't know. These prices are just crazy to me. Hips and Ships wants to know, when you're mowing the lawn, are you sitting or pushing? I live in the woods. I live more like in farmland country, so I have a decent sized lawn. I've got a riding mower.
I'm pushing my lawnmower. I don't have a big yard at all.
Trapper Paul says that policy screws over a lot of good buyers. 2 unpaid items in a year could happen to most buyers. Too many reasons. I disagree. And I don't think I do 2 unpaid items in a year. I think I do 2 in 90 days. If you have 2 in 90 days, you can take a 3-month break from eBay. I don't know what's going on, but I don't care if your car breaks down. I don't care, like, whatever happens, you should not be buying and this gets into a fundamental thing that some people will disagree with, but I've had people message me, hey, I know I just bought that $100 slab from you. My car just broke down. If you're 1 car breakdown away from not being able to pay for your $100 Pokemon card, you should not be buying it. That's my take. And honestly, like, that gets into all these stats you see about the percent of households that don't have $300 to pay for an emergency. And I think those people shouldn't be on eBay buying Pokemon cards, generally speaking. And I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I think 2 unpaid items in a 90-day period, take a break from eBay and get things sorted to where you can pay for what you buy.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think 2 in 90 days is unreasonable. I don't think 2 in a year is unreasonable either. I don't think I've ever had a time where I bought something and didn't pay for it. I can't recall a time where that's happened. So I can't see 2 unpaid item strikes in a year as being a bad thing. And then at the same time, it sounds terrible. But in reality, I probably have thousands of people on my block list at this point on eBay. And I don't miss a single one of them. There is still so many other people on eBay buying stuff that even if I do block a legitimate buyer because of my my settings, I don't notice any of it. Just because there are so many other people on eBay buying these cards, that I'm fine without that couple of people. I would rather keep those settings to avoid the headaches of those people who actually don't purchase stuff versus gaining those extra few buyers who might have made a mistake at one point and really would pay for that item.
Yeah, I see somebody in chat. I think it was Walrus. But his was an accident. I'm assuming he's talking about my little anecdote with John with Pokemon Radar. Honestly, if John had told me, I'm going to hit you with the unpaid item strike, as you say on PokeFlipz that you always do to people, I would have laughed and I wouldn't have gotten mad at him. It would have been funny. It would have made the story even funnier if he had made me wear that unpaid item strike, as I should have. Because honestly, it was I've never done that before. I've never pocket bought an item, and it was just hilarious that I happened to be looking. I think I was looking through his eBay for whatever reason, and then I hopped on the mower, listening to YouTube, probably listening to some podcast, and it just happened to buy it. That does not happen 2 times in a year. That's happened 1 time in my however long I've had the eBay app on my phone. So I would be interested if anyone had a scenario where they think it would be legitimate for a buyer to request a cancellation. I know that this hobby is very, very young generally, but when you place an eBay bid, that's like a contract. That's a serious thing. I know that some people might disagree with that statement. Some people might laugh at that, like, oh, you're taking this way too seriously. When you place a bid in an auction, that's like a contract between you and the buyer. When you agree to buy an item, people screw around. People get really like blasé with it all. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just Pokemon cards. But yeah, like when you agree to bid, you pay. You just pay. And all these people like fat fingering bids. Oh, I bid the wrong number. Like, pay attention to what you're doing. Make sure, I mean, eBay asks for like a confirmation page. You have to click it twice. Just pay attention to what you're doing. And if you screw up, take the unpaid item strike and just wear it. Own it. Like, it's on you. There's no reasonable... John let me out of it because I'm friends with him and he knows me, but he didn't have to, and I would have been fine if he didn't too. So yeah, that's I completely disagree that policy screws over good buyers. I think that if someone's not paying for things twice in 90 days, even a year, I think they're a bad buyer. Car breakdown, it just doesn't matter. Like, I had one person that recently, and they got unpaid item strikes. They said they were like in the hospital. That sucks. But like, yeah, I mean, they sent me offers on items. I accepted them. Something happened on their own end. Atypical scenario that's not happening like a tons of times a year. And me personally, how engaged I am on eBay, if I like got into a car accident and went to the hospital, I would be on eBay that night from the hospital because I'd have nothing else to do. I'd be playing RuneScape and I'd be on eBay the whole time I was in the hospital. So I would still pay for my items if I went to the hospital, unless I was in like unless I was in like a coma or something. But so I just don't agree that there are like valid excuses to not pay. I get that life happens sometimes and maybe you mess up, but I don't think they let you go 2 times in a year. I would need to go back into the settings and verify, but I don't think you can go that strict.
No, you can. I'm telling you.
I think mine's 2 in 90 days. 2 in a year, I think I went like 2 in 90 days. Maybe 2 in a year, I agree, is a little bit pushing it. But like at the end of the day, like, yeah, just pay for your items.
That's the solution right there. Yeah, no, you're just you do have a small heart, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm just cold and heartless over here.
I'll need to look now. I'm gonna make a note to look at my unpaid filter.
Yeah, I just went to the blocked buyer list. Buyer requirements: block buyers who cause 2 cancellations of unpaid purchases within 12 months. Is nice. What I have.
Get him, Nick. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to change. I'm on Nick. Nick just swayed me. I'm going to 2 in a year.
Oh.
Okay, so PK said, thoughts on creating my 1-year-old an eBay account to start growing his feedback and age of account. Yes, absolutely. Gotta start him young. Spoiler, I already did. Ghetto asks, how do you feel about Scarlet and Violet English pull rates being so easy? We talked about that quite a bit earlier, if you want to catch it on the rewind. I don't really have too much more to add. They fluctuate throughout the history. They'll probably go back into getting them more difficult, but I think it's reasonable to play around with different things and just see how the community responds, and they definitely listen. Some amount of people like it, though. I mean, it could be that the vocal minority, some amount of us, dislike it, but more like the general consumer likes it. And I'm sure they're doing like targeted study groups and different things, taking in the voice of the customer. But at the end of the day, like, they're going to play around with things, and I'm sure they'll ultimately, I'm pretty comfortable with them doing the right thing and doing what's best for them continuing into the future. So I trust Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing. Pokemon's done it right all these years. We just gotta put faith that they'll continue to do things right. But yeah, as a coming from the end of Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, not a fan. As a base set, like I said earlier, it kind of makes sense that they made these pull rates easier to kind of get people used to these new cards. Hopefully that's what it what it actually is, and it's not going to be a case of every single set moving forward has these super easy pull rates. I think that would be I think that would negatively affect Modern. I don't think that would be a good move, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Do you know what your CPM is on your channel? You're hardly posting videos these days, but
I don't even know what CPM means.
I just looked in my analytics and it calls it RPM. It says revenue for every 1,000 views, RPM. My RPM over my last 28 days was $4.50. And then for my shorts, it is 7 cents. And then my lives, it's $22. I don't know if that factors in like the gifted subscriptions or anything like that. Oh yeah, it does, because it says fan funding. That must be the subscriptions. Anyways, while you're looking up that, I'll quickly answer Josh's. What are your MetaZoo selling plans after Evo disappears? I'm selling a lot of MetaZoo singles on my eBay, so I'm just going to transition a lot of things to my eBay.
Gonna start turning into me over there.
Yeah. Are you able to find it or no? It's under revenue.
No, I can't find it in the app.
Analytics, then you scroll all the way to the right to revenue.
Yeah, I got revenue, but I don't see it shows me like monthly.
Scroll down.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Revenue for every 1K views, $3.59.
The Nick's $3.59, I'm $4.47. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what other Pokemon channels are.
My live performance review for 1K views, $4.50 for some reason. I have no idea how.
Mine's $22, and most of it is fan funding. Most of it's Amplitude. It should just say Amplitude right there with all those gift subs. Amplitude and Java always coming in and dropping gift subs.
I haven't done a live in years though. Can't imagine someone going back and watching those again.
ZNG Emporium says, I refuse to get a blue star to keep you guys humble. I like it. Man of principles. The price goes up because the price goes up. Dan 2023. Ghetto asks, would English out-the-door booster boxes ever resell for over MSRP? It sounds unlikely, but why is it just normal for Japanese? It was happening. I think Japanese is just having... We had it in 2020 to 2021. Japanese is having it now. I mean, I sold... Not significantly, not like double MSRP, but I sold my Battle Styles booster cases, like release week, for $900 a piece, $150 a box. MSRP of that was $144, so it was only barely over, but we did have over a year span where a lot of stuff was selling over MSRP right out of the gate, right at release. So it was just normal for us until it wasn't, and it's just normal for Japan now. But I don't think this. I don't like. I think Pokemon is here for at least another 25 years. I think they're going to be around for a long time. I don't think Japanese booster boxes for the next 25 years will be doing what they're doing today. I could be taking a big leap here. I could be wrong, but I think things will return to some semblance of normalcy. I think Japanese booster boxes will again be available at some point for around 4,500 yen. And maybe they increase the thing from 4,500 yen to 5,000 yen, 6,000 yen. I don't know. But I would lean heavily towards the fact that how it will end, what it will look like, who will make money, who will lose money. I think Japanese booster boxes will come back around to getting closer to MSRP at release.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I think Japanese modern box pricing is crazy right now, and it'll get back down towards MSRP. Maybe slightly above it, but more towards it than now. And then on the English side, I can't see it happening. unless we have another mania with COVID and Logan Paul and all that, another like perfect storm event like that, I can't see modern booster boxes ever going above MSRP at release. Especially now that they raised the MSRP to 160 or whatever it is now.
I could see a random.
That would be shocking if they did.
I could see a random one-off set, maybe not booster boxes, maybe not like main set booster boxes, but the periodic, like the ultra premium collection thing. Obviously Charizard wasn't able to hold up to 120, but I could see the random one-off premium product going for above MSRP. It wouldn't completely shock me if we get like the Japanese 151 equivalent, whatever we get for that. A set like that just being like above retail, if for whatever reason they don't print a ton of it, or it's just so, demand is so fickle. It's so hard to predict. Demand is fickle and supply is unknown. Like Pokemon could just randomly short print a set for whatever reason. Maybe they have some kind of an issue. I mean, I have no idea. It's just so speculative that it's not worth like putting too much energy into it, in my opinion.
Yeah. The thing with that though is we've seen a bunch of specialty sets go above MSRP. So for that to happen, yes, definitely. But another standard set with a booster box, I can't see it.
Like ever,
just like recently, Crown Zenith, that was above MSRP. I think it still is for ETBs.
Yeah.
So for that to happen is really easy. For a specialty set to go slightly above MSRP at release, but like the booster boxes, that's what I can't see happening, unless it is like some one-off circumstance, like you said there.
Yeah,
like short printing or another COVID.
If I had to bet, in the next 10 years, will I be able to sell a case of booster boxes for $1,000 at release, like at MSRP or slightly above, one random set in the next 10 years? I would lean towards yes. I have no idea why, but I feel like one set might do it. I don't think it's going to become the norm though. And if I had to bet on it one way or another, I would bet that within the next 2 years, probably less than a year, I think Japanese boxes will go back to being, maybe not all of them, but I think a lot of Japanese boxes will go back to some semblance of normalcy and being like $50-ish at release, not $300. Like Clayburst is one, and then I forget what the other one is. But it's just crazy. It's crazy what we're going on. Like 2020 happened, a lot of things went up, a lot of things came back down. Some things never dropped, some things are still going up, some things are having their 2020, 2021 moments right now. One thing that's not changed, that hasn't changed, is like things are always changing. Change is like the norm. It's just mind-blowing how many things there are out there, how diverse this whole hobby is, and something's always popping off. Josh wants to know, do you think CGC or BGS will ever grade the original metal Burger King slabs? I think the Zard would sell for $10K and a 10, not gonna lie. I have my childhood ones. So I have my childhood set, and then I also probably have like 5 more sets. I didn't they come came in a blue box and a red box. I think everything interior is the same, but I think I have a sealed set of each. And then I have some random like loose ones from collections that I picked up years ago, like locally on Craigslist. I should sell them because I think there's some amount of value there. Like not crazy, especially relative to how much of a pain they are to ship. But I should get mine sold. If ultimately one of the companies will ever grade them, I shouldn't get them sold. I should sit on them until they grade them, because they would go for too much money. I don't know about 10K and a 10, but who freaking knows? Ugh.
It's a Charizard in a 10. Of course it'll go crazy.
What a world we live in.
I think that would actually be really cool if CGC started grading those. I would definitely pick a set up, because I remember getting those as a kid every once in a while. So I would definitely pick the whatever it is, 5 or 6 up as a graded set.
Rusty bought a sealed case of the Zard Jigglypuff from James, so he's first in line if they end up grading him.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, that's funny. Here we go. Ghetto asks, if you could only eat one entree, one fruit, and one drink for the rest of your life, what would it be? Oh man.
Well, I got my fruit would definitely be my fruit would be watermelon. I could eat that every single day. I absolutely love watermelon. And I guess it actually works too, because now I don't have to choose water as my drink, because my
Yeah,
water is coming
you've
from
got.
watermelon.
Look at that. He's a smart one.
My drink would have to be I guess my drink would be root beer. I'm a big root beer fan, specifically mugs. And then entree, that's a tricky one.
That's really tough.
I think I would probably go with if I can say like Mexican. Is that narrowing it down a bit?
That's way too. I was gonna wonder if you could say like I wouldn't say this, but can you say like potato, and then you can do mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, French fries, potato chips. You can have a little bit of diversity. But
that's true. That's true.
I think Mexican is that's way too cheating. That's like.
Okay, so I'll say burritos then.
I was gonna say
you can add different meats.
You could say
vegetables.
tacos. Yeah, and if you say tacos, can you do like beef tacos, chicken tacos, fish tacos? I don't know what's allowed, what's not allowed.
No, I think so.
My fruit is definitely pineapple. I love pineapple. My drink would be honestly mostly what I drink is like I drink milk with dinner. I drink iced tea otherwise. I would probably go with iced tea. With a, like lemon iced tea. Right now I'm drinking like an Arnold Palmer iced tea and lemonade.
Yeah.
Entree. Like if it was one meat, I would probably pick chicken just because you can do so much stuff with chicken. But I mean, you can do so much stuff with beef too, but I really don't know. That one's so tough. It might be like tacos just because you can do a variety of things with tacos even. I don't know how much we're stretching. We're probably way overthinking it anyways. I think we'll just leave it there so we don't turn this into an hour analysis of analysis paralysis.
Spend a half hour on the meme question.
Analysis paralysis on a meme question. So let's hop right into the next one. Jacob hits us with, a lot of people have a favorite waifu. That's fine and all, but what's your guy's favorite husbando? And DeGreen Chiz Collectibles, 3 comments later, says, in before Dan says Dan. I don't think we've been graced with a full art or an alt art, but I am absolutely going Dan. Obviously. Is there a Nick in the TCG? There's got to be, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'm looking it up.
I don't know of one. I looked it up at one point, and I couldn't find anything.
Looks like not.
I guess mine would be Lieutenant Surge. I always liked like the his cards, so I guess I would go with him.
Leaf Green Goblin says poutine, cherry coke, and plums.
Plums? Ugh, no way.
Rusty asks if I ever flipped a riding lawnmower. Never. I honestly, my ditches are pretty steep, and where I used to live when I was growing up, one of my first, when I was big enough to ride on the riding lawnmower, that I used to love it. Like I used to love driving the lawnmower, mowing the lawn. That was like one of my early chores that I had to do. And we had a creek that ran through the back of our property, and near it the slope was pretty decent. And I was too lazy to want to weed eat, whatever you call it. I was too lazy to want to have to weed eat the whole hill. So my little like 50-pound frame, I'd be riding on the side of the seat trying to not fall into the creek with the mower. I never did, but I came close a couple times. So I never have flipped a riding lawnmower. I have flipped a snowmobile. I've flipped a go-kart. I think that would be it. Snowmobile and go-kart. The go-kart wasn't bad because like it was one of the go-karts with a roll cage. I mean, most go-karts have roll cages, at least the style that I'm talking about. Rusty had one that I didn't ride in the go-kart actually when we were at Rusty's, but I think you did for a bit there, Nick. I was on the four-wheelers mostly.
Yeah, that go-kart was so much fun. I loved riding around that thing.
They're like made to flip. They've got roll cages. But yeah, I don't think I've ever I flipped a dirt bike too. I flipped a dirt bike going up a hill before because it used to stall sometimes. It used to have an issue going between second and third. So, but yeah, what about you? Have you ever flipped a riding lawnmower?
I don't think I've ever been on a riding lawnmower actually. I don't think I have actually. No, I've never. I have a tiny yard, and no one in my family really has a big yard either. So I've never gotten that full experience of being able to sit down while you mow your lawn.
I actually just looked and I saw that Cam said it took me way too long to realize he wasn't talking about selling. Now I'm wondering, was Rusty talking about flipping as in like selling a riding lawnmower? Because the way I took it for whatever reason is like flipping one over. But
I assume he's talking about flipping one over.
I've only ever bought.
That's how I took it.
I've only ever owned and bought one riding lawnmower, and I still have the same one that I bought like 10 years ago. No, 8 years ago now. So my Massey Ferguson 42-inch cut, that's still doing right by me. But growing up, my dad, like he still actively flips like Rusty's got a bulldozer. My dad's a mechanic, welder, fabricator, all different kinds of like stuff like that. He's constantly buying snowmobiles, lawnmowers, bulldozers, backhoes, tractors, buying them, using them for a while, fixing them up, and then flipping them. So I've never done it myself directly, but like I've helped my dad fix up things that he had flipped before. So yeah, I don't know if we're talking about physically flipping overturning a lawnmower, or if we're talking about selling a lawnmower now. But I've we're Josh says we're getting into the weeds here. So yeah, I've flipped.
See what he did there.
I've flipped snowmobiles, and I've also helped my dad like flip snowmobiles too. So I've done, not with lawnmowers though. That's funny. I have no idea what we're even talking about anymore. Oh, that's funny. Jacob wants to know if there's an estimated number on how many of the Mario Pikachu there is. There's over 1,000 graded with PSA. I would be personally shocked if there's less than 10,000. I think there would be tens of thousands. Given that it was a mass release product in 2016, it blows my mind when some people like, oh, probably half of them are graded. Probably, no way. I would be shocked if there were less than tens of thousands of these.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. They were really, really cheap for a very long time. It took a long time for any type of price movement to happen on those boxes. So it's not something that's like really limited. Under 100, under 1,000, whatever. There's a lot of those out there.
Yeah. Oh, Rusty said physically flipped that sucker. Okay. Yeah. So he did clarify, physically flipped. Yeah. we covered that whole thing, but that's funny. Basic says, not to expose anyone, but this month alone, Rock Pokemon, DeGreen Shiz, and Mason Cardinal Gaming came to me to buy them out of their large MetaZoo. Should I stop the bailouts and let them fail? Yeah, let them fail and then buy them out for like half price a couple weeks later, for sure. Business is business.
Man, I'm brutal over there.
Oh, man. But yeah, Rusty's whole property, not whole property, but it is fairly hilly. Like there's some hills. I could see some flipping going on. A lot of flipping going on, Pokemon wise. A lot of flipping going on out back. Lawnmower and go-kart wise.
Whole bunch of flipping going on at his house.
Oh, Jacob asked, "What's my new non-Pokemon plushie in the background?" Anyone who watches RuneScape content on YouTube, which is probably a small amount of people, this is the settled Swampletics plushie. No sense explaining it for people who don't know what RuneScape is, but yeah, it's an old point-and-click medieval game from decades ago. I'm very nostalgic for RuneScape as I am for Pokemon. So a lot of that's the only video game I like actively play. That and Mario Party.
I like it.
Coffee Yo says, "Was there ever a product you thought was such a slam dunk you had to go all in on?" I've never gone like all in on a product. I think all in would entail like stretching every line of credit I have, like maxing out my 2 credit cards. I've never gone all in on a product like that. I think more the thing I lean to more is like a collection. I've taken away my liquidity for like weeks stretching to get a collection, probably 5 or 6 times throughout my history. I did it just over the winter when I was pretty strapped for cash. I bought that 48K collection, Pokemon and non-Pokemon. Years ago, I bought an order in like a full Mercedes van that I've talked about before on the channel. So I've done it for collections, but never like a single product. Never have I just put like... These days, the numbers are bigger too. So for me to go all in 8 years ago might have been $1,000, $5,000. And I didn't do it then. And for me to do it today, it would be like a 6-figure purchase. There'd never be a thing that I like so much that I just put like 100K into it and strap myself for the next like 3 months. What about you? Anything you've just like gone all out for?
No, not really. Nothing that I went completely all in on. I would say like I only set aside like a few 2 cases of booster boxes from each set. Celebrations is probably the biggest one, like we were talking about earlier. But bought a whole bunch of those packs. Plan on selling some of them, but for the most part, I want to set a good portion of those back and just hold on to them for the long term. Because I really believe in celebrations. I think that's a fantastic set. So that would probably be the closest example that I have for that question.
Andy the Champ is getting very creative with his price prediction questions. He's phrasing them well, so it's not just like what should I buy, but you can tell the intent. If you had both items in your PC, but you had to sell one card today and hold one for 10 years, Rayquaza Gold Star PSA 1 and Giratina Alt Art PSA 10, what would you do? I would keep the Gold Star Rayquaza because I just think the Giratina Alt Art will fade in amongst all the other Alt Arts, whereas the Rayquaza is more of like a special historic release. Obviously, they did the Gold Star Greninja. They could do more Gold Stars at any time, but that card I think is just more like historic to the hobby, and I think the liquidity on that card, PSA 1, it's got the meme grade. So that does go for like a premium. Honestly, PSA 1 Gold Star Rayquaza probably outsells like a PSA 5 Gold Star Rayquaza.
I don't get it. I'll never understand that. Yeah, I would completely agree with you on that one. 100% hold the Gold Star Rayquaza and sell the Giratina Alt Art. Alt arts are tricky right now just because there is so much hype around them. Will this hype for alt arts last, or will it die out eventually and turn into the next big thing? It's an interesting time right now for alt arts. So for me personally, I'm slowly building an alt art set myself, a binder set of them. So I am collecting them, but I would be cautious investing in alt arts right now for the long term. Whereas the Gold Star Rayquaza has kind of that proven track record and proven history of being a good card. So you have that going for the Rayquaza, and the Giratina is just too new right now.
Rusty said in chat he's getting too distractive. I have seen him engaging quite a bit in the live chat. So Rusty's efficiency for the day is probably down to like 80% or something of his normal capacity.
You are way far behind with your with the highlighting.
I'm at 2:30 right now, so we are like 25 minutes behind. It's a good thing we're doing the premieres, otherwise we'd be like an hour and a half behind. Jacob wants to know, will there ever be demand for jumbo cards? I know some vintage sell higher, but in general, will it ever be more in demand? Kind of hard to answer, I know. There is demand, but it is significantly lower than for regular sized cards. Will it go up relative to where it is today? I have no idea. I think there's so many things working against jumbo cards. All the nice things we have about regular sized cards, how easy they are to ship. All of our holders are like just standardized around the standard size card. So if you try to do a jumbo card collection, finding top loaders, finding card savers, finding penny sleeves, they're all just a hassle because it's non-standard. So it's hard to find that stuff. Finding a binder. And then you deal with the fact that like the regular size card has always been the regular size card for over 100 years. And Pokemon has always been encompassed in that. Jumbo cards have varied in size. They had one size and they had another. You got the oddball like top stuff that's just a different size entirely. So I don't really see any kind of a change coming where demand for them like goes up relative to what it is today. I think it will always just be a super niche thing, personally.
Yeah, I agree. There's never going to be a huge demand for jumbo cards. They're just such a pain. They're a pain to sell. They're a pain to ship. Nobody likes reading item titles where you say it's a jumbo card in capital letters. So you get a ton of cancellation requests on them. I am not a big fan of the jumbo cards myself, and I can't see demand ever increasing on them that much.
Appreciate you, Rusty. TCA Gaming just dropped 50 gifted subs. He's trying to get ZNG Emporium gifted membership, but James probably hasn't enabled receiving gifts. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. I think he's gonna stay. Cam says he doesn't know how to enable the ability to accept gifted memberships.
Too stupid to know how to get a gift.
Cam's probably not subbed. I think you have to be a subscriber. And then you have to click on the gift. But if they're on Apple, if they're on iPhones, it makes it a little more difficult, I've heard. But then I've heard some people say that it's right there, it's easy. So I have no idea. But either way, Rusty gifted 50. We appreciate you, Rusty.
Thank you, Rusty.
I did have a question I popped up on screen. Hermit Man 151. If Pokemon were real as animals, would you feel bad eating Lechonk chops and washing it down with a milk tank shake? No, I mean, animals are real animals, and I love animals. I really do. We have a dog and 2 cats. I don't eat dogs and cats, but I do love, like I grew up around farms, and I grew up, like, watching calves be born, and lambs and goats and whatever. Like, I knew people who owned all of them, and pigs. Pigs are super cute. But I love bacon. I love a good burger. I love a good steak. So I love them both as animals, as species, and I also love them as meals. So if Pokemon were real, I would have no issue with it.
I don't know. Miltank's always been a fan favorite for me. So that would be a little tough. Although you at least with milkshakes, you're not having to kill them.
What I was just gonna say
you're just milking him, so it's not as bad as eating
Cam in
chops.
Cam in chat said he'd be getting it straight from the teat, like the Japanese Moo Moo milk card. So that would be Cam would be making the band card. He'd be imitating the band card. Oh man.
Oh god.
Question: since non-Pokemon animals exist in card art, do you think people in the Pokemon universe catch animals and make them fight? Oh god, we're getting off the rails now. They probably do, just Pokemon can't show it because it's too dark for their target demographic. Here we go. Here's a good one. You guess first. Sam asks, without looking it up, how many PSA 10 Japanese Marnie alt arts do you think have been graded by PSA so far? $1,000 card, by the way.
I was gonna say $1 card.
Yeah. I missed the K.
I'm going to say. I'm gonna say 1,500.
I was gonna guess right around there.
No idea.
I liked the format that James, Cam, and Brian did. Well, I guess Brian didn't partake in the game, but Brian did do a face reveal recently. One of James' newest employee. But yeah, what they did was, because I'm assuming you didn't watch it because you don't support your friend's content on YouTube. But So Brian was there looking up by the order number. Brian was looking up what a card sold for, and they would alternate. So Cam would have to guess a number. Here's a card. What did it sell for? And then James would guess. One of them would set the number, and then the other would guess higher or lower. And they did a head-to-head competition on 20 orders. They tied 10-10, and then Cam won the tiebreaker. But and kind of similar to this, like you saying 1,500, I would say under. I was gonna guess like 1,300-ish, 1,200 to 1,300-ish. So you set the number. I'm gonna take the under. Cam will let us know. Oh, he said me.
Well, Cam already screwed up. He gave us the wrong card.
Yeah, because Marnie was from a few years ago. Wasn't Marnie from? Or maybe Marnie didn't even have an alt art. Wasn't Marnie from Sword and Shield base?
It definitely did.
Maybe it did.
I forget what it was. It was the original milk box carton in the U.S. Whatever set that was. Yeah.
Anyways, guess again. So it's a newer set. So obviously.
So I'm gonna go lower then. I'm gonna say, or I guess it's been out in Japan for about a month. I'm gonna say 1,000.
I'm gonna take the under. I think it's several hundred, but I don't think it's 1,000. So Cam, let us know. The Miriam alt art. The Manerium alt art. So let's see who won that. But let's see. Cam with the comment, you guys clearly don't understand. Japanese modern should be cheap because I like it and I want it for cheap. I deserve a lower price because I am upset people are willing to pay more than me. Yeah, it is a funny sentiment that goes around. Like, I knew this band before they were famous. I used to go to their concerts for $5 in my hometown, and now they're like nationwide. Now they're global, and their concerts are $500 and they sell out. And I'm mad because I knew them before they were cool. That's kind of the same vibe that I get. I think I made that analogy like a year ago with some of the prices going up.
I have talked about that before.
Yeah, it's like, at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. And do I agree with the prices? No. So just don't pay them, right? Like, I'm not going to buy a $300 box of Clayburst because I don't value it for that. And I don't think I can do like good business with that. So I'm just going to like buy something I can do good business with. I'm going to buy something I do value as a consumer. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
Wow.
Cam responded.
Cam says it was 1,511 PSA 10s last night after PSA closed for the day. And when I refreshed it today at 11 a.m. Pacific, they're at 1,552. What a world we live in. It is insane.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's nuts. So I should have gone with the over. That's
I should have stuck with my 1,500. I would have been so close.
bullish on the hobby, bullish on doing this full time. Retro says, is there a way to block your friends from your eBay so they can't continue to steal your plays? Honestly, another situation where it's like a joke comment, but there is value and there is legitimacy towards having like a secret eBay, right? Like, there are some people that go public with it and they have the same name. I'm Catch 'em All Collectibles on eBay. Nick is Old School Pokemon on eBay. But like, Jake's not doing it full time. But Jake makes it a point to like not publicly show what his eBay is. I think PK talks about a lot of his eBay plays. So You could probably like detective work, find your way into finding what his eBay is, but he doesn't publicly state it. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have a public tie to it, probably for that reason. Because when someone can see all you own, all you list on your eBay, I mean, they can see like where you're making your money. I have my channel, so I say what a lot of them are anyways. I'm not too concerned about it, but that is a legitimate thing. I mean, some people intentionally, part of their business, they want to keep that private so that they can make their plays in private, right? If every time you list it, if all your friends know it and they've saved you as a seller, oh, well, Retro listed these 20 cards today. Ah, looks like there's a decent margin there. Why don't I grab some of those? I mean, that's a legitimate concern, right? So if you've already like let the cat out of the bag, if you've already been public for so long, I guess there's a choice you could make. You could make a new one and you could start from scratch and you could keep it private, or you could just deal with the fact that people know and follow you. And yeah, it's, if you've not yet gone public, you can, I mean, once you go public with it, it's like there's no way to put the cap, there's no way to like undo it. So yeah. I guess consciously think about what's right for you before you do, if you're doing this, especially if you're doing it as a business or even as like a serious side hustle. And Josh did say make another eBay.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing, is just to make another one.
You have one for public plays. You have one to like lead people astray. Your standard one that all your friends know. You lead them astray. You lead them down like the wrong path. The things that don't pan out how you hope they would, you put there, and then you put all the secret sauce on another one. You have like a front.
There we go.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm gonna have to do that when I start selling my no damage Ninetales.
Yeah.
Because everyone's gonna know. Oh, he has one copy up for sale. He has 100 other copies. So I'll just wait for the next one.
And honestly, like I think that's one bit of value. I'm gonna shout both Nick and myself out. I'm gonna shout out Rusty and James in the live chat. Consignment service has value. I mean, there is definitely value in anonymity. If you have an Instagram and you publicly post the cards that you hold and you post the cert numbers, like even if Nick were to consign his cards through James, if you told James like, hey, when you do your live opening, don't mention that these are mine. If you own so many of one given card, if you've publicly posted cert numbers, it's going to get around that they were your cards. There's no way around that. But at the end of the day, like there are a lot of people who value their privacy, and obviously having a YouTube, having your faces out there, that goes directly at odds with privacy. So big, again, a meme question that leads into an actual like interesting conversation that you should really consider if you're doing this full time, or even if you're doing it on the side as a semi-serious thing, if you're trying to scale up and level up. Important things to consider.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I guess you picked watermelon as the fruit you'd eat forever. I'd pay $100 to see Nick eat a watermelon as fast as possible. Maybe that can be like a charity challenge thing you issue to YouTube. It's like, hey, find some cause to donate to, and then film yourself eating. I mean, Cam is going to be your first donor. He's going to donate $100 to whatever your cause is. That's funny. So yeah, we're like almost 30 minutes behind. We're at the point where we were talking about our 3 things that we'd do for life. Oh, that's funny. Now we're at the point, Josh says, am I the only one who thought TCA was talking about selling the mower? LOL. Oh, that's funny.
Cam was right there with you.
Yeah. How often do you have to change the blades on it? I sharpen the blades on my mower where I used to live, I had to sharpen them every year, sometimes like mid-season, because it was super sandy all the sand would get like picked up. The soil was terrible for like gardening, anything like that. So all the abrasion, all the sand getting picked up into the mower would just would dull the blades like crazy. So I used to sharpen it like twice a year where I lived. Where I live now, I sharpen it like every other year maybe. I only had to replace them once.
I don't know where what you were talking about there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Took me a minute to realize we're back to lawnmower talk.
We're back to lawnmowers because that's where we were 30 minutes ago, and that's where I'm in chat. Oh man, Rusty almost flipped a tractor the other day. You gotta be careful with that stuff because some things are made to flip. Some things have the roll cages, but some things don't. I guess my dad has owned tractors that do have a roll bar, and then some don't. So have to be very careful for sure. TCA Gaming, we need this content. TCA backwoods. That's funny. Zookeeper Collectibles asked if I liked the Tile Man series. I did. It was interesting. Again, that's RuneScape content. Sorry.
No idea what you were talking about there again.
Here we go. I think we have. Here we have a Pokemon question again.
Question?
Yeah. I love. Shout out to everyone who uses like the big bold question with stop signs on each side. That's the best way to ensure that I find your question. Appreciate you, Zardlurking92. Any stories of buying a Pokemon collection from someone by just running into them and randomly start talking Pokemon? I ran into a stock clerk who had a childhood binder and bought it.
Please.
I have one thing potentially in the works right now. I think I sent a couple of pictures of it in Discord, but I had a friend from college. It was a guy on my racquetball team. He one of those things where he's like, he heard that I'm doing Pokemon full time now. Oh, I had a bunch of first edition Charizards when I was younger. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like send me pictures when you get a chance. And you always like kind of doubt it at first, right? It wasn't base first, but he has like 2 or 3 minty hollow Team Rocket first edition Charizards. He does have base unlimited Zards. He has like clean base jungle rocket fossil and some first edition hollows. Probably if I had to guess, probably at least $5K, if not closer to 10. I mean, if we get into grading, potentially could be like towards like $10,000 worth of stuff. So yeah, I have your question seems more along the lines of like a stranger. Mine is someone that I used to be really close friends with back in college, and I keep up with him. One of those people that you talk to like once or twice a year. You might see every couple years at like a wedding or whatever. But I might end up going. He lives in Chicago, so if I go to like the National, I might end up meeting up with him and checking out his binder and maybe doing like a consignment deal with him. Other than that, other than like people that I know hitting me up, I'm trying to think if I've ever had like a stranger. I don't think so. What about you? Anything with that?
No, it's always there's been a few times where friends that I know that I'm selling Pokemon and they'll sell me their collections, similar to you. But never had a time where I'm just talking to some random person and end up buying a collection. That's kind of a cool story.
I have weird stories where like I'm at the dentist or I'm at like the doctor's and one of the random like hygienists, one of the random people just getting into like chatting with them. Oh, what do you do? I sell Pokemon cards full time. And then they talk about like, there's been times where I'm almost like, should I slip my dentist? Should I slip my hygienist like a business card? And it's always been one of those things where it's like that feels kind of weird. And I've not done it because I also, part of me is like, oh yeah, they're saying that they have like this great stuff and it's gonna be like a $50 binder that I don't want to buy anyways. So I've had a couple times where like it could have been an opportunity for it, but I've just like not given them my contact information and not pursued it because it felt like a little weird. Mr. Walrus says, question, is value collecting or value investing better for the long-term health of the hobby? Jake actually had a conversation around this on a recent live stream. It's funny because Pokemon becomes more investable when more people are collecting. Because if everyone's collecting and they're just buying it and holding it because they value it, prices are more likely to go up. If everyone's buying as an investment, thinking that the prices will go up, who's going to ultimately buy it, right? Like you need someone to value it for more. You need the air quotes greater fool down the line to pay you more. And if everyone's collecting because everyone loves it and values it more than the market does, that's recipe for prices going up. So, I mean, if health of the hobby is prices going up, then value collectors are better. I guess value collectors are just better inherently from most fronts. But then it will become more tempting and more lucrative for people to invest, so people will. There's always like this push and pull, this give and take between collectors and investors and flippers. Like it's all like one. I mean, the market price of any given item is the equilibrium of all those forces pulling, right? So, interesting thought.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to disagree with you on that one, but again, I pretty much agree with you on that one. I think value collectors are definitely better for the long-term health of the hobby. Though my one iffy argument would be, with collectors, you have people who are buying 1, 2, 4 copies of a card, whatever. But with investors, you have people buying mass quantities of these cards. So maybe less supply hits the market because these investors are buying more copies of those cards. That'd be my only argument for the investing side. But I do think it's the collectors, definitely.
I'm just getting to where Rusty gifted 50 memberships. I think Rusty's memberships aren't being given out because there's not enough people to give them to. Amplitude gifted 50 subs earlier in the stream. I don't think all those have been given out because I see Corey Latsky was gifted a membership by Amplitude. So I think we have a backlog. I literally think we just don't have enough people. Like, we don't have enough people present to give out. I mean, we have 65 watching. Probably different from the 65 that we were watching earlier. We've probably had over 100 unique people, but we've had 100 gifted subs when we've not had 100 concurrent viewers at any point. So I think they're just stacking. We might have a backlog from last episode too, because like Amplitude gave out 50 or 100 then, I think. Retro said, I hope they roll over.
Yeah, Professor Oak gave out a bunch.
Yeah. We have much too generous of a viewer base. They literally can't even all be given away. do not invest in PokeFlipz memberships, I guess, is the moral of the story. Oh man. Okay, where are we at now? Here we go. I see the stop signs and I see the question, so I'm going for it. Question, if the new shiny thing is new gold stars, how bad are these alt arts going to tank? If you want to take that one first, because I've been hogging them all first for a while.
So if what was it, if gold stars come back, what would happen to alt arts?
Yeah, if the new shiny thing is new gold stars, so there's a logical reason to believe it may be, right? Because we have EXs now. We have EXs that just came back. So basically, say you get like the best of both worlds. Say you get like a gold star alt art. How bad will Sword Shield alt arts tank? Because now that's what we've been talking about for over a year now. I think we've been talking for over a year. Well, Moonbryon is doing all these things. What happens when shiny Moonbryon comes? What happens when shiny alt arts come? That's what gold stars would be, right? Gold stars are shiny Pokemon, so it would be like a shiny gold star alt art essentially.
Yeah. I think it depends on what these gold stars look like. I think that plays a big factor into it. if they look like the gold stars from the EX era, where it's just like a normal card with a gold star on it, or if it looks like the Greninja gold stars, I don't think those would go over as big as the alt arts did for Sword and Shield. I think the full art alt arts are in right now and really popular, and I think you almost need that kind of full art aspect on a card to make it one of the biggest chase cards. I don't think if they did went back and did like the normal gold stars, I don't think those would go over as good as well, especially for like the younger kids who are into modern. They would definitely prefer the shinier cards. That would kind of be my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think, and I've mentioned this before, but I was largely wrong on Hidden Fates. I think I said Hidden Fates was really going to stand out with the innovative, like, shiny vault that it did. And maybe 10, 15 years from now, I will be more correct than I'm seeming to be as of today. But Hidden Fates kind of really stalled. Power creep continued to kick in. At some point, though, right? Like, you only have a finite amount of area on a card. How much more can they do? I addressed this in a recent video where I talked about, like, power creep of what they can fit on a given card. But yeah, if they did shiny alt arts, I think that's the natural progression. I don't think alt arts will necessarily tank, but the argument that we're constantly talking about, 20 years from now, it was Hidden Fates, and then it was alt arts, and then it was shiny alt arts, and then it was whatever crazy thing they come up with. These things are just going to kind of blend into obscurity to some extent. Certain things will stand out. Which ones will? It's very hard to say. Maybe Moonbryon, maybe Hidden Fates, shiny Charizard. Who knows? But that's the risk you run. That's the risk you run with 25 years from now. It will have been a 50-year history of Pokemon with 200 sets, with 2,000 species, with 40, 50,000 unique card arts. As of today, I mean, I didn't like extrapolate higher. Like, we've been picking up steam, releasing more and more every year. That was just extrapolating from what we have today. As of today, we have 100 sets, 1,000 species, and 20,000 unique arts. So just doubling that 50 years from now, what's going to stand out? If you're investing, that's the question you have to answer. I'm not investing, so I don't really give that much thought to it. I mean, I give a little bit of thought to it because I'm asked about it, and it's interesting. It's an interesting thought experiment. It's an interesting thought exercise. But if you're investing, you really need to think about all these things. These things are very, very important. Why is your card, why is your investment going to stand out? Why will someone give you more money than you paid today for it? Especially if the pops are 10,000 or 20,000. Why is that going to stand out? Why is it going to go up? Better, newer, fancier, shinier things are going to be pumped on YouTube. Better, shinier, newer things are going to be coming out year over year. That Pokemon is going to have an incentive to pump. That YouTubers are going to be talking about. That these selling platforms are going to have an incentive to like pump up. And if Pokemon goes serialized, if Pokemon goes like something crazy, why are these things going to stand out? That's just the questions you have to ask. I'm not trying to like say one way or the other or whatever, but those are just some of the considerations.
Yeah, Hidden Fates was a letdown. I thought that was gonna do well, but ETBs just are slowly creeping up there. I actually started selling most of my Hidden Fates ETBs and moved it on into celebrations.
Retro will like this one. Question for Dan. Dan, stop stealing my plays. Thanks. Retrospecs sounds kind of familiar, but I'm not sure. Have I met him before? Have we met him? Let me find the next question. Sam says, yeah, I'm still waiting for someone to ask us to not say their name. Surprised it doesn't happen or hasn't happened yet. Retro says, well, James doesn't show the front of the card, so that's close enough to not showing the place. Retro sent in some like Mario cards, and James just showed the back of them.
I did see that. Yes.
That's funny.
Oh man.
Lawnmowers are not plus EV, but they have utility. So like me buying a lawnmower, it prevents me from having to pay someone to mow my lawn. So they do have utility. I've not yet found a utility for my Pokemon cards though. Still looking for that. Here we go. Ghetto asking the hard-hitting questions. If you could make double the amount of money you make with Pokemon annually, mowing a lawn 40 hours a week, would you do it? I couldn't mow a lawn 40 hours a week. Since my childhood, I've mowed lawns, my own, or for a while in high school, I actually mowed my grandpa's, which sounds like not much, like mowing one lawn. He had like 5 acres that he mowed. Well, he still has.
God.
He still has, but I don't do it anymore. So I think one of my cousins is mowing it now. But it used to be like 4 hours. He had a big mower and it was like 4 hours to mow and trim his whole lawn. And he had me do it like every third day. So it was almost like 10 hours a week to mow his lawn. It was like a part-time job in and of itself. And it paid pretty well too. So that said, when I was mowing his lawn 10 hours a week almost, and when I was mowing like my parents' lawn that I was living with at the time, that was like pushing the limit of how much lawn mowing I wanted to do in a given week. I do enjoy it. I think it's a bit like therapeutic almost, doing it for like an hour every few days, a couple times a week. But I couldn't do it 8 hours a day every day. I could not do it. It would be too much. So if I could make double what I make with Pokemon annually, I might do it for like a year to just see if it would be as bad as I think it would be. Because it would be, if I could do my 2022 income and make double that, I would absolutely do it for a year. And I would just have a massive savings rate. Because you said 40 hours a week. Like 40 hours a week isn't bad. I'm doing Pokemon for more than 40 hours a week right now. So I would do it for some amount of time and just save a massive amount of money that year and get much further ahead with like my savings goals and financial independence and all that. But I couldn't just do it for like a decade or decades for sure.
You can't count the time you spend on YouTube and Discord as working, so you actually work about 2 hours a week.
Yeah. Oh man.
Absolutely not for me. I absolutely hate yard work. Although I do like leaf blowing. Leaf blowing I can get behind, but mowing the lawn, raking,
Leaf blowing.
mulching, stuff like that, I can't stand it. I would much rather sit and stare at a computer all day.
Oh man, I didn't see this in the comments, but right after I just blasted him, Retro says, if you're watching and enjoying the content, please hit the like button. Appreciate you, Retro. I do know who you are. I was just joking. I appreciate you.
I'm sure he redacted that statement by now.
Yeah. Oh man. I do see too. I see every so often periodically someone was gifted a membership by TCA Gaming, and then we'll get someone who was gifted a membership by Amplitude. So I don't know how eBay's algorithm works on gifting memberships that are in queue, but it's like slowly trickling them out. So if you're here listening to this, there is over 50 gifted memberships in the backlog. Make sure you click that button and enable receiving gifts.
Get access to some fire emojis.
And Java says, I'd be surprised if we don't get a hidden Shiny Fates type set soon with a shiny alt subset. Seems inevitable. I mean, to me, like Crown Zenith, like it's all semantics, right? Like alt arts versus character rares versus illustration rares. It feels like that's what we're getting. Like Crown Zenith was a beautiful set. I had so much fun opening Crown Zenith. It's funny, like I've seen in some Facebook groups and I've seen in some Discords, are these new things alt arts? People almost getting concerned that the term alt art will get diluted, and that some of these new cards being such high pull rates will almost kind of like hurt their investments and whatever. It's just funny how much of it is semantics, and I don't know, but yeah, absolutely. I think we'll get a set that has, what was Hidden Fates, like SV went to the 70s or 80s.
SP.
There was at least 70 or 80 of them. And then we had Galarian Gallery with Crown Zenith.
I think it was close to 100.
Galarian Gallery, I think, was over 100. So it's absolutely going to come. And a lot of it's semantics, like whether it's alt arts or whether it's illustration rares. I guess now it's a little bit more than just semantics, because whereas it used to be just 1 black star for the rarity, now we have the 2 gold stars, the 3 gold stars, the 1 gold star. So it's a little bit more than just semantics now, given that they actually denote it on the card. But yeah, if you're investing in a card based on that being the most beautiful card of Pokemon like all time, that's risky. Even if we talked about Mario Pikachu earlier. I think it's a dream collab. I think it's an amazing collab. 2 of the strongest, most familiar IPs in the world. But they can make more of them at any time. Anytime they want to, they can make more. And then will that make the first one worth more or worth less? I don't really know. But if they made like a whole set that was full art Mario Pikachus and Mario or Pikachu Bowser and Pikachu Luigi or Pikachu Donkey Kong, and I don't know, what's it do to all these things? Is there enough money to come in to support it all? Those are the questions you just have to ask as an investor. I'm not overly concerned with it because I'm flipping these things. But if I was investing, I would take it way more seriously. And I as far as like researching and getting way more in depth into the pop reports and all that, I pay attention to them a little bit on the side here and there. But I'm not holding for 20 years. I'm not holding for 5, hardly anything.
That's one thing I'm terrible at, is keeping up with pop reports and what's being graded and all that stuff. I've never been good with that. But part of the question with the kind of shiny vault set, I could go either way on that one, honestly. Do people want a shiny vault set again? I think it would be cool, but look at how badly Shining Fates did. You can still buy ETBs of Shining Fates through distribution.
I think they just restocked them, didn't they? I think they just had a reprint of Shining Fates ETBs.
I think they did, because I got offered a bundle deal with a bunch of
which is mind blowing.
It was like 2 or 3 cases of Shining Fate ETBs, and then some other stuff too.
Like those things were only 50. Why are they reprinting those? What are they doing?
I have no idea. So I don't know if people want a new Shining Fates or a new Shining Vault set with shinies and all that. I think that time has come and passed. Now everyone wants the super flashy alt arts. So I don't think they would be able to make it like originally with Hidden Fates and Shining Fates. I was hoping we'd get a whole Pokédex of all of those shining cards. Now I can't see it happening. I think we'll probably get another similar subset like that, but I don't think it'll just be those just those kind of standard artworks. I think it's going to be something completely different.
I think Pokey Martin asked a really good question that will kind of demonstrate some of what I'm talking about. Pokey Martin asks, what were the heavy hitters back in EX era everyone thought were big time artworks? How have they fared? Shout out to Echo-based collectibles. There are not a ton of people who were around then that are still like around and engaged today. It was just much smaller back then. Nobody was really investing. A lot of people were playing the game, and he's more slanted towards the playing side because he was like a judge and he was playing some himself. But he tells some crazy stories about how people were trading like playable cards for gold stars, and the gold stars weren't like super valued. I think some amount of people really did like them, but there's an interesting dynamic between the players and collectors. But one common thing that was happening or not happening back then, people weren't really investing, nowhere near like they are today. Gold Star Rayquaza, if that came out today, the pop would be 10,000 within 2 months. Gold Star Rayquaza has, I don't know what it has graded, but nowhere near that. It'll never have anywhere near that graded, very likely. And those are the considerations you have to think about if you're investing. You really have, like, supply matters. Demand matters a ton, but supply also matters. You can make the argument that demand might matter more, but supply still, like, it's not just demand alone or supply alone. It's the relationship between supply and demand that matters the most. So they're inextricably linked, because it's that relationship. So yeah, like, what were the heavy hitters back then? Probably fairly similar to what they are today. If you were a player, they were more the playable cards that you'd find in the World Championship decks. If you were a collector, they were more the gold stars and things like that. Some cards did a little bit of cross. Like, if you look at the World Championship decks, Jolteon Gold Star is in a World Championship deck, as well as, I believe, Mew Gold Star. So those cards probably, I mean,
Yep.
you have extremely popular species. You have extremely nice arts, more subjective, but you have a gold star. You have the highest chase for the given sets. So I would presume, I think it's pretty safe to say, like, Jolteon Gold Star, Mew Gold Star would have been some of the biggest chases, because they had a combination of touching the player side and the collector side. They had the chase, the most significant chase in history to that point. The Gold Stars won every other case. Or won every other box, sorry, not won every other case. So yeah, it's just, it's important to look back. I mean, history isn't going to guaranteed repeat itself, but you should look back at if I were investing, I would care about these things and I would be looking, but I'm not investing. So I think I know more about some of this stuff than people who claim to be investing, which is a little bit scary. Like, some people just think, like, prices go up over time. Prices are higher today than they were 10 years ago. So it's going to happen again and again and again and again. And if everyone's investing, it becomes a self-defeating prophecy. A lot of people are probably more familiar with the term self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm talking about a self-defeating prophecy. If everything only goes up, theoretically, from a very, like, fundamental philosophy standpoint, if something is guaranteed to only go up forever, you should pay any amount of money for that. If there were a theoretical good or theoretical item, theoretical asset that only goes up over time, you should be willing to pay infinite money for that, because it's guaranteed going to go up, right? So if everything thinks everything's always going to go up, that becomes a self-defeating prophecy, because people start buying it, investing in it, speculating on it, assuming it will go up. And then 10 years later, that's what happened with Beanie Babies. That's what happened with 90s junk wax. That's what happened with, like, a lot of collectible bubbles and booms that popped up over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, over the millennia. Various things have popped up like that. So just be careful out there if you're investing. The intrinsic value of all this stuff is 0.
Yeah, that's gonna be the interesting aspect, is how will these modern cards do now that so many people are investing in modern and keeping boxes sealed and grading the cards right away. Because back during the EX era, that was not a thing. People were, very few people were in the hobby, and the people that were more so opening it for fun. Nobody was buying stuff to hold for an investment back then. So it's definitely different now, and it'll be interesting to see in 15 years from now how Sword and Shield stuff is doing. Who knows what'll happen?
A lot of people think they do, and they might be right at the end of the day. I have no idea, but some of this overconfidence is a little scary. We'll see where we end up. But yeah, again, I feel like I gave a really lengthy one. I think I'm answering some of these really thoroughly and not leaving much for you. So I'll let you go first here from Selfless Resurrection. Question: if Pokemon became a dead TCG in a few years, how would you shift your business strategies towards selling? Would you focus on something else if that happened?
We had a similar question last week. It comes down to what is Pokemon as a dead TCG? Is it going back to 2012, 2014, where pricing was really cheap compared to today, but there was still a market for it? Or are we talking like Beanie Babies pricing?
I think you would mean dead.
Nobody wants any of them at this
dead
point.
as in they're not producing new cards, I would presume.
Yeah. So like if Pokemon's still a thing and it's still around, I would stay in it because I enjoy it. And I'm able to make money on it. To actually live. But I think my strategy would definitely change. I probably I don't think singles would be as big of a thing, so I probably wouldn't be doing these mass openings anymore because of how much time they take. Right now, they take a lot of time, but there's also a massive amount of interest in those types of cards, so you're able to sell them relatively quickly. I think it would be more so like focusing on like the older, higher end cards, stuff like that. But if it was a case where Pokemon was completely dead and it was hard to make money in it, I would move on to something else for sure. I love Pokemon, but a big part of that is definitely the monetary aspect that goes along with it.
And I think if Pokemon were to stop making new cards, the market would dwindle. Like it would become so much smaller than it is. So I think there would be less competition, and there could be a few players, full timers that would be able to be sustained. So it would it's such a hypothetical. So I'm doing a hypothetical scenario. Hypothetically, if I could engage with it for 40 to 60 hours a week and make what I need to make a good living and was still enjoying it myself, I could see myself staying full time. But yeah, it obviously wouldn't be buying ultra modern product. That wing of my business would completely go away because it would cease to exist, being a dead TCG. So naturally and necessarily, I would shift more into the older buying collections, grading, things like that. And if it could sustain me, and if I could make a good wage doing it, I would continue to. um,
While you get the next question, I will be right back.
yeah. Andy the Champ says, question, last one for the day, and I'm going home. Not Pokemon, but serious thoughts on Dragon Ball Z score. Seems seriously undervalued today since the number of cards graded are extremely low. I had some Dragon Ball Z score in my collection that I purchased. I was able to buy it significantly below market, and I was able to buy it where there's a lot of margin to make flips on it. I don't know enough about Dragon Ball Z score, honestly. I don't know anything about how much was printed. I don't know much about the pop reports, except for the few cards I've graded myself. So I don't really have too much to add here. Undervalued relative to some things in Pokemon, almost absolutely. I would presume, but other than saying that, like I just don't know enough to say. I'll check with Nick when he gets back. When he's, do you know anything about Dragon Ball Z score? Do you think it's relatively undervalued or nothing? Yeah, I figured.
Not a single thing. No, I never got into Dragon Ball. Even as a kid with the anime, never got into that. So I don't know a single thing about it.
One issue that I have with some of this is like, and I bought a lot of these card games. I had a bunch of Naruto. I had a bunch of Dragon Ball Z score. I had a bunch of I had some chaotic cards. I had some like all these different dead card games, as well as all these new card games coming out. You've got Lorcana, you've got One Piece, you've got Pokemon, MetaZoo, Magic, you've got Yu-Gi-Oh, you've got like at some point, is there enough? Is there like too much? Can we really just keep sustaining all this? Something's gonna have to give at some point. I think I could be wrong. Maybe everyone in the world will just need to engage with all these cardboard things. But like I just know so few people in my real life that engage with them at all, and I don't think they ever will. But something's got to give in the next few years. I think there's going to be a reckoning of sorts, and I don't know if that'll be with Pokemon. I don't know if that'll be with other IPs, but it just doesn't feel like there's enough capital out there to sustain it all. But maybe maybe there is. There's a lot of money out there, and the governments are wildly printing continually. So
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see this kind of pace of new cards being able to sustain itself with all the new games that are coming out. I can't see it happening. I do think like the big ones will last and be successful for the long term, but all these new ones and all these like smaller TCGs, I can't see keeping up this pace.
And even Lorcana has a behemoth of an IP behind it. Disney is massive. Disney has been around for like a century, going back to Steamboat Willie. I mean, so many of us have so many nostalgic ties to that IP. I mean, thinking of the 90s, thinking of all the VHS movies I had, everyone had them. And they're coming out with new ones constantly, like great movies too, like great movies as an adult. My kids love them. I love them, like Moana and some of these more recent Disney movies coming out. That doesn't necessarily mean everyone is going to have them in cardboard form. There's this one Disney 100 thing that just came out. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to say it. Whether or not it's even licensed, like it doesn't matter. People are just stonking the crap out of it. It's insane. And Lorcana, I feel like so many people, it might turn into a self-defeating prophecy because so many people are like, oh, it's guaranteed, it's Disney, it's 100+ years, it's this, it's that. It's, if everyone thinks it can only go up and everyone buys it, like it could die within a year. It could die within 2 years. Disney does not mess around. Disney prints. Disney makes money. If this thing gets stung to the moon and people are willing to buy it at 160 or 140 MSRP, whatever it is, Disney will print because Disney prints. If Disney can just like, I could see Disney just printing the crap out of this, like satiating the insatiable demand. And within 3 to 5 years, it just dying under the weight of like multi billions of cards being printed. And whether they know how to handle rarity tiers and things like that. One thing Disney knows how to do is make money with their IPs. And they did it back in the 90s. There were Disney card sets in the 90s that they printed and are super cheap. And there are older ones that are out there too, 60s, 70s, I think. But at the end of the day, like supply and demand both matter. Demand is going to be massive. Stonking is going to be massive. If I had access, I think it's brick and mortar only. If I had access, I would take everything I could get and beg for more at wholesale pricing. Absolutely. It is, for the first set at least, it is quite obvious. I mean, I just did it with One Piece. I did it with the second set of One Piece. I bought $750 cases. These were $60 boxes wholesale that I insta flipped on eBay for $220 a box or whatever it was. That is going to be a thing out of the gate. But like, if you're the one paying the $220, if you're the one paying double retail, investing, that's scary. That's highly speculative. Yeah. If you're buying it wholesale, if you're cracking it, if you're making the first to market PSA 10 plays, there's going to be so much money made. So much money made. But it's a zero-sum game. Collectibles are non-productive assets. Zero-sum game. When someone makes a lot of money, someone loses a lot of money. That's how it goes, right? I mean, with businesses, with productive assets, you can actually you can grow the pie. It's not necessarily a zero-sum game because you can grow the pie. But with Lorcana, with a booster box that's sold for 140 retail, sold to an investor, speculator, whatever, for 300, sold to another one for 600, someone's gonna lose money at the end of the day. So someone's gonna be holding the bag. Everything at some point or another. I actually loved it. Reserved investments. Probably a lot of people in our sphere don't like his content. I love it. But he said in the recent live with Jake, even Action Comics #1, even a very historic coin, even a St. Gaudens double eagle, even a Morgan dollar, Carson City Mint, even cards and coins and comic books like that, someday they will hit an all-time high that they'll never see again. Even things like, that's the way these things are. That's the way these things work. I mean, I think a lot of things hit that in 2020 with Pokemon. I think a lot of them will never revisit those highs. But then some things are higher than they ever were during 2022. So just know the risks. It's all speculation. It's all riskier than people let on, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially like we were saying nowadays, where everyone is investing in this stuff. That definitely changes the dynamic for sure.
And when it's so obvious is when it gets the scariest, right? Just self-defeating prophecy. Danazard says, question, what books do you recommend on investing and or collecting? I don't read as many books as I should. I do have a handful of like personal finance type books. Somebody asked me this yesterday in my live. I'm going to go through my Amazon buy list. I'm going to go through my bookshelf and just make a list somewhere. I'll have to hit them with the affiliate links. But I do have a tab on my website with products I use. I will add a new section to that for books I recommend or books I enjoyed. So I can't just rattle them all off the top of my head. But I know Sean from Reserved Investments, there are certain ones that he recommends over and over. I'll have to check those out at some point. I think I have them in my wish list.
I am not a reader whatsoever. I could not tell you. I might read one book a year. That's about it for me. And the books I do read are just like for fun. I'm not reading finance or investing books or anything like that.
Shiny Typhoon has a quick question on MA resellers licenses. Do you just fill out a form and send it somewhere, or do you call to apply?
No, I'm pretty sure it was just a form that I filled out online. Type in resale ID MA, and you should pop up with the website. It's just like it's super easy for mass. You just fill out the form. I think you pay like $20 or something, and then they email you your reseller's certificate.
And
really easy process.
It's probably different by county, because I know I live in New York, and I just type in my county, New York. The county clerk, at least for me, is the building where I had to go. During COVID, I think they moved a lot of things online, so you can do more online than you used to be able to. But like 10 years ago or so, 8 to 10 years ago when I did mine, you had to physically go to the county clerk, and you had to go. You had to register a DBA, and then you had to get it's called a certificate of authority here. We don't really have like a business license, but every state, every county is different. You got to just start by Googling your county name, your state name, and going from there.
Mm-hmm.
And I see in chat, Alexis says, I read that as like what books to collect and invest in. LOL, I got so excited. But now when I reread the question, what books do you recommend on investing? I think I read it the right way. I don't think he was asking what books do you collect or invest, but if I did, I don't, but if I ever did, I would probably look at like the original Harry Potter books, like the first edition print runs of that. I've never looked into it. I really love those books though. I'm not much of a book reader, but back in high school, I think I didn't finish it till college. Like I think I put it off reading the last couple books just because I knew that I'd get really sucked into them once I started. But I remember I'd be up to like.
You didn't read them once they were coming out?
No, I pushed it off because like I knew that I was gonna get sucked into them, and I knew I was gonna be up like way too late reading. And I remember in college finishing the 7th book and being up to like 4 a.m. a couple nights when I had like class the next day at 8.
Yeah, I remember getting every book the night of release and reading them within a week, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, those were good books. Brad G. Cards says, question, why is Dan such a Debbie Downer? This hobby as a whole has...
We're just gonna put a big rain cloud over you.
If hearing someone pump the brakes on what you're investing in causes you that much pause or gives you that much panic, you shouldn't change what you're doing vastly based on solely what I say, but you should hear it and you should consider it, and you should reevaluate for yourself what you're doing. And I know that this isn't Brad, that he's more just memeing. But yeah, if you're hearing what I'm saying, if you're hearing what some people that like kind of pump the brakes on some of this as an investment are saying, and it's making you panic, you should really like make sure you're comfortable with where you're at and your broader financial picture and all that good stuff. Mr. Walrus wants to be the yum yucker next stream, so he's glad I'm getting it out of my system.
Yeah, nothing but positivity from you next stream. Want everything to be sunshine and butterflies. Rainbows and however you say that.
The only Rainbow Jim says Harry Potter movies are great, but the TCG never worked and stopped after 5 sets, so why should Disney cards do well? Yeah, I think Disney cards are going to be like super stonked by sports guys and by Pokemon guys. I mean, I know if I have access to getting some, I don't think I do because I think it's brick and mortar. But if I have access to make a flip, I'm absolutely going to do it. Like, I'm an opportunist. I'm a businessman. I had the opportunity to get some One Piece, and I made what I used to make in a month as a chemical engineer. I made in one afternoon, just buying wholesale 2 One Piece cases and flipping them on eBay. It's insane. It's absurd. If I'm able to partake momentum play in Disney in that way, I probably will. But other than that, yeah, it's wild out here.
Yeah, Lorcana will be that'll be an interesting time for sure. Felipe had a good comment about it. The playability is going to be key for Lorcana. If people don't play the game, it's probably not going to last.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Garen wants to know about lost packages in the mail. Dan, we talked a bit yesterday about it, but I'm still searching for ways to try to mitigate the future risk on lost packages. Over what dollar amount do you insure? Me personally, I do not buy carrier insurance on anything. I have a business policy. Shout out ZNG Emporium. He made a video last night. I think he dropped it at like midnight. I watched it this morning. But it was on Collecticon. Him and I have the same insurers. I made a video, I think over a year ago now. If you want to search my channel for insurance, I made a video talking about when and why and how I insure stuff. James just made one last night where he touches on some of it. But anything I add a signature to, I'm covered by my business insurance. And it's way cheaper. It is way significantly cheaper than if I were to buy carrier insurance. Very, very expensive. And not only does it cover my insurance or my shipments, inbound and outbound, but it covers my inventory. It covers my inventory at the various sites that I keep it. Safe deposit box, it insures that. It insures what I have physically like on me where I keep my eBay inventory. It covers all that. So I don't know what scale you're doing this as, but one thing that I cringe sometimes when I buy stuff on eBay, I'll buy like a $50 card or a $50 package and I'll see the postage and they spend like $14 on postage because they put signature on it and they insure it and they do this and that. So like you will eat yourself alive with fees. I understand losing $50 sucks. Losing $500 sucks. But for me personally, I only put signature when eBay makes me, which is over $750. If a $700 package gets lost, I'm not insured because my insurance requires signature. And there's like a $200 deductible, I think James mentioned, on my insurance too. So like if your deductible is $200 and you lose $500, you just eat that. You don't make a claim. You don't make a claim that's going to make your insurance premium go up so that you can just save a few $100. Insurance is for like the big stuff that really hurts. So me personally, I do it through my business policy. They do, I mean, the bigger you go with the policy, the better it gets, like on a dollar premium per dollar covered. But there are like smaller policies you can do for collectors that, in my opinion, make a lot of sense because homeowners policies do not cover your collectibles. Renters policies do not cover your collectibles. So I think insurance is something that our hobby, our market is just very generally underutilizing and underappreciating. And I mentioned it before, but back when I was in college, my apartment burned down. And maybe that's why I'm more serious about all of it, because I lost everything and they paid me for it. I think that's a risk that people just don't take into account. And it's especially if you're doing it as a business, I think it's way just more cost effective because you're not having to buy the carrier insurance.
I agree with you on the insurance for like I have that insurance for like inventory and collection stuff. I don't have any insurance for mailing packages. And I'm not, maybe they changed it, but when I was talking to them, maybe I should call them actually and
You
make
should definitely
sure.
call them. I was
But
gonna
when I
say,
was
yeah.
talking to them years back, they said the deductible was like $800, which for me just did not make sense because I was not shipping hardly any $800 packages.
Mhm.
So it just did not make sense for me. And even now at that threshold, the amount of $800 and above packages I'm mailing out is very minimal. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to do that. I also don't use like USPS or FedEx or UPS insurance either. The only thing I'll really do is package it better myself. Go from a bubble mailer to a box. Go from first class mail to priority mail to express mail. I will do that depending on the value, but I don't ever insure anything.
It's all just math. At the end of the day, it's all just math. And I talk about, I think I have a nice little spreadsheet section in my video where I talk about the math behind it. Like back in college, if you want to look in retrospect at the math, for $100 a year, I was able to get a renter's policy that insured my contents of my apartment for like $10,000. And that covered, like I had a TV, I had a PlayStation, I had clothes, I had books and things like that. My laptop. I think I went over that, but so I capped out my insurance for $100 a year. I insured $10,000 of contents, and I insured up to like hundreds of thousands of dollars of liability. So basically, if something had gone wrong, if I had done something wrong, and whatever, they would have paid out injury. They would have paid out other things. But me doing the math in my head, it's like I'm going to be in college for 4 years. If and when something crazy were to happen, and I were to get sued or something crazy happened and I lost everything, it's like I'm going to pay $400. And if one payout were to happen, they would pay me $10,000. Well, it just so happened to be one payout happened, and it was clearly a good investment. It was clearly a good investment buying that policy. Most likely, I mean, insurers make money. I think one thing people get hung up on is they say all insurance is a scam. I actually saw that comment on James' video. A lot of people get hung up on it. Overall, insurance is negative EV. That's a fact. Like, it is a business. They make money selling insurance. Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, they bought Geico. Very, very good business, insurance, because they take small amounts of money from large amounts of people, and then they pay out less than that. I mean, they make money. It's profitable. But at the end of the day, you want to insure yourself in life for things that would be a wipeout risk. I insure like my house. I own my house. If you are paying a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance because the bank will make you, because they're making sure their investment stays insured. But once you pay off your house, you don't technically have to have homeowners insurance. I still have it because if my house were to ever burn down or something were to ever happen, if a tornado came to central New York, which it never does, but if a hurricane were to hit or an earthquake, I can't stand losing $500,000 in my whole house and garage and all its contents and tied in with the inventory. And so insure yourself against wipeout risk, especially as an investor. All these people claiming to be investors, some of the biggest investors, Warren Buffett, you can never make a bet so big that if it doesn't pan out, you end up wiped out, because you always need to insure yourself against wipeout risk. So, but yeah, signature at $750 because eBay and PayPal require it. If you do not do signature at $750, you will not have seller protection. So I mean, in my opinion, you have to. It is very reckless and unwise to not have signature at $750, because if the buyer claims non-receipt, you automatically lose. So in my opinion, I would recommend signature at $750, as eBay and PayPal do recommend. And then other than that, but yeah, I cringe. I cringe when I see people with a $50 shipment oh man, losing $50 would suck. So instead of possibly losing $50, I'm going to guarantee I lose 15 because I'm going to insure it and I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. Like some people get way too overboard with insurance, I think. when you go to Best Buy and you buy like a toaster for $20 and they offer to add on $5 insurance to insure your toaster, I go on a nice little rant in my video that I did.
Scams.
Those things are horrible scams because it's like, what's the failure rate on a toaster? Worst case scenario, it's not a wipeout risk. If you have to buy a second toaster a week later because your toaster failed, that's not a wipeout risk. Depending on the state, a lot of states require auto insurance, not for the car itself, but for liability. If you get into an accident and it's your fault, if you're driving and you slip on the snow or on the ice, and someone gets put in the hospital or someone dies, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're talking wipeout risk for most people. Mm-hmm. So I insure for potential wipeout risk scenarios or potential like 50 plus years of premiums being paid out in one instance.
Mm-hmm.
I think we covered that one good though.
I would say so.
I really like that book a lot, Sangawanda. One book Reserved Investments recommends is Psychology of Money. If I'm remembering correctly, I think that was by Morgan Housel. If I'm saying his name right, that's a really good book. I mean, literally talking about the psychology of money, and the way people treat and interact with money fascinates me. Like, I really read and listen to a lot of personal finance blogs and things like that. People's relation to money is just fascinating because it's unfortunate how little finance education there is in like school, and it's just crazy how poorly some people how poor some people's relationship with money is. It's kind of sad, like how self-destructive people can be with it. And I mean, there's probably some amount of overlap with that in Pokemon.
That is definitely true. Definitely true.
The Poll Father asks, do you need a business license to open an account with a distributor? No. In some states, maybe yes. In New York, you do not. You need a certificate of authority. Every state, every county will call it something different. You need something, but there's no universal name for what you need. I would start by reaching out, as I said, to your county clerk and figuring out what your thing is called. If you want to call up one of the distributors and say like, hey, well, one, they're probably not taking you unless you're brick and mortar. But like, hey, I live in this state. What form do you need from me to open an account? Start there. They'll tell you what the form is. Then go to your county clerk and tell them you need that form, do all the stuff. But yeah, I guess that covers that question because that's all you got to do. Ask them because every state it's going to be different.
Yeah, no. As far as paperwork, it's really easy to set up distribution. The hard part is actually setting it up and getting in with them.
Alexis says, if anyone's curious on the rarest / highly valued books, look up the Gutenberg Bible.
I'll take your word on that one.
Yeah, I have nothing to add on that. Pokey Martin asks, if Miriam gets to $20, should we be worried? What price would be scary? You want to start with that one, Nick?
I would say $20 would be very scary, given that that's like the big chase card from Scarlet and Violet. So if we see that one go all the way down to $20, I would be very scared for Scarlet and Violet and boxes and sealed product for that specific set. Yeah, 20 for sure. Even at like, if it gets down to like 40, 50, that's pretty rough too. Having the biggest chase card in the set be under $50, which it's getting down there. Last time I saw it was like high 70s, low 80s on TCG Player.
Mr. Walrus hit on exactly what I was going to say. If it goes to 20, if it's the most valuable card at 20, that's more concerning. But I'm more with Mr. Walrus here. $20 means it's not the chase card. Simple. If one of the Miraidon or Koraidon golds are like 50 still, or 60 or 70, that's fine by me. Yeah. Like that card can go to 20 because the whole waifu thing can shift or whatever. So I think there's a path for that to go to 20 and everything else to still be like reasonable. Because it just wouldn't be the chase card. I'm with Mr. Walrus there. I don't think it will, but like it could.
That's a good point. Yeah, if it just stopped being the chase card and the other cards held value, that would be fine.
Yeah, Mr. Walrus says they got Dan with that volcano insurance. Absolutely, there's a limit. There's a limit where certain things won't make sense. I know so many people that get sucked into the whole like predatory whole life insurance, and there are absolutely insurance products out there that are not for your benefit. But I would argue, even knowing that it's negative EV, there are insurance policies out there that are best for you, that are in your best interest. And yeah, that's convincing me to get tornado insurance out here in Arizona because you never know. Yeah, there's absolutely a limit. You can go into absurdity, and there are predatory institutions that will sell you insurance products that are not in your best interest, just like anything else. Life is full of people trying to take money from you. But yeah, I would argue and have historical. I have actual anecdotal evidence. I guess I'm one of the few where certain insurance policies have definitely been plus EV for me. Problem with insurance, though, is if something catastrophic happens in your state, for example, a hurricane in Florida, millions of payouts, insurance turns around and charges more the next year. Yeah, I mean, James mentioned in his video, James has collectibles insurance for his business. He mentioned that he had $25,000 in payouts. I don't know exactly. I kind of know roughly because I've talked with him privately. I'm not going to say what his premiums are. James' insurance policy is very plus EV. I've not yet had a claim successfully paid out with my insurance company, but I have an ongoing one right now that will make my policy plus EV if and when that one ends up paying out. But yeah, like if you say you have hurricane insurance in Florida and you pay $2,000 a year for it. I don't know what your home is worth, whatever it may be. If your insurance goes up from $2,000 to $3,000 after they just paid out $500,000 for your home, I think that was a wise policy to have had. Like, absolutely, your policy is going to go up if you have a payout. I think James may have gone up after he did a claim. But like I've had one or two times where I've had a claim on my auto insurance. Yeah, it went up, but still, like, I mean, the amount of money that was covered in some certain instances. At the end of the day, some people just hate insurance, thinks it never makes sense, and they won't be convinced. So, I mean, that's fine. Because official TCG tournaments are starting again. Oh, I thought this was a question at first. I thought it was, will we see a raise in playable bling bling cards, not only Miriam, but it says we will. So it's more of a statement. Yeah, I think like gold nest balls and gold. I watched some of Danny Phantom's videos, and he talks a lot about like different cards spiking because of rotation and because of if they're reprinted in a new set, then they become legal. Like even the nest ball from like there was an XY set that had a gold nest ball, I think, in it. Maybe Primal Clash or something. But maybe that was Dive Ball in Primal Clash. I forget now. But anyways, if a set card is newly reprinted in a new set, all the older iterations, as long as they're like 1-to-1, can be used. So that's not something I get too deeply into, but I do hear about it passively some from Danny Phantom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been those gold cards have been selling really well for me. The two energies, the nest ball, the rare candy. A lot of people buying those cards.
Yeah. D1T Landon says, question, can you think of a set where the chase card has shifted from release? I don't stay engaged enough in that stuff to really have any example that I can think of.
I can't, honestly. Nothing that comes to mind.
I feel like it's had to have happened in one of our 100 sets, but nothing comes to mind. It almost certainly it would have happened in like the mid-era when playability was more like proportionally of a thing. I hear Squeaks talk about some of the old playability, the certain decks, and I bet there was a set released 2 sets later, and like some new interaction came up where a certain prime card or a certain EX card just became significantly more playable due to some interaction with a future card. So I don't know if they'll listen to this, but I would be shocked if like Echo or Squeaks can't come back with some kind of a like, oh yeah, this card was the second most valuable, and then it went to the most valuable after this certain interaction came up later from a later set, and it's had to have happened.
I would imagine at some point it definitely did happen.
I do want to just say quick while I'm looking for the next question. 15 more minutes. We're gonna go till 4:30 as we normally do with these lately. 4:30 is quitting time, so I'm gonna hit all the questions I can. Almost caught up right now, but yeah, 4:30 we'll cut it. Mr. Walrus says, question, what scares the hell out of you currently in the hobby? All of it? Not scared for me,
No,
but scared for people.
I have a more upbeat attitude than Dan over there, so I wouldn't say too much scares me about it. I think we're here to stay for the foreseeable future.
Fido kind of scares me. That new Pokemon Fido with cinnamon buns for ears. I'm worried for his health because I'm worried that he's not gonna make it because he's gonna get eaten. So Fido, that whole evolution line scares the hell out of me because I love dogs and I'm just worried, especially the conversations we had earlier about eating Pokemon. I worry for Fido.
They better not go near Chinese restaurants.
The guy fishing in every Shining Gyarados card is also in the Lugia V alt art. Why can't this man just fish in peace? Sounds like he's finding all the all the big things he's chasing. Sounds like he's doing a good job. I mean, fishing out a Shining Gyarados, fishing out a Lugia V, doing well.
I don't know if I'd want to be finding a Gyarados or Lugia when I'm fishing in a little tiny boat. Oh.
Question from G1T Landon with the nice stop signs. Long term, do you see a first edition base Blastoise? Do you see first edition base Blastoise creeping closer in price to the Zard due to a lower pop? Zard is Zard.
Yep.
Zard is Zard. So will it go closer proportionally? Will it become a higher percentage? Blastoise PSA 10 price over Charizard PSA 10 price? I don't know. It could. But Zard will almost certainly be, not guaranteed, but Zard will almost certainly be king of Pokemon as it was of the playground 20 years ago.
Yeah, I am confident in that. I will use the G word, say guaranteed.
Uh-oh.
No, yeah, Charizard base, especially base Charizard, it'll always be the most iconic. Even though Blastoise has the lower pop, it'll never be anywhere close to the pricing of Charizard.
I agree.
And if it does, then I would say Blastoise is overvalued at that point. Like if Blastoise and Charizard are the same price point, even though Blastoise has the lower pop, that just wouldn't make sense for me.
Yeah. There are a few people speculating or guessing in chat, sharing their memory of what may have been chase card changes. Some people saying Evolving Skies started as the Rayquaza.
Moonbreon is a good one.
Yep. And then Fusion Strike, maybe the Espeon to the Gengar. Tag All Stars.
I don't like that one as much. I always thought the Gengar was the chase of Fusion Strike.
Probably in Japanese sets too, with what's been happening with waifus. I would imagine that a lot of these recent Japanese sets, it used to be like a Pokemon and now it's become a waifu, if I had to guess. I don't know the specific examples, but let's see. Jevel says Dan basically just admits he's taking advantage of dumb people who collect/invest in Pokemon. I don't know if that's said as a joke or like as a... I'm not trying to take advantage of anyone. I'm selling people cards at market price, right? I mean, I sell low list on eBay. At the end of the day, everyone's adults and they can do what they want to do. When I sold $500 EVs on the way up, I would have thought that price was way too high. Well, in hindsight, it was, but it went to 1,000 before it went to 200 where it is today, or 150. Honestly, when I sold $100 EVs, $100 Pikachus on the way up, I thought that was too much. And it's double. Mm-hmm. It's double today where it was then. So I don't know where this stuff is headed. I'm just one guy doing my thing, selling things for market price. If I feel that one thing is horribly relatively overvalued to another, I will absolutely sell it. I will sell it on eBay for low list while I'm telling you on YouTube, I think it's crazy what it's going for. What more can I do? Like, I'm not going to be some crazy guy just yelling and crying about what these market prices are doing. I'm here just doing business in it. So yeah, I don't know if that was said negatively or positively or as a meme or seriously, but that's my take on that. I mean, a lot of businesses out there.
I think you need to start asking everyone for their financial statements to see if they can afford these cards. That's what I think you should start doing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, there are casinos, there are cigarette manufacturers, there are breweries that make alcohol. I'm wearing the shirt of a local brewery. That there are a lot of businesses out there, and there's nothing wrong with like. This is getting way deep. There's nothing wrong with gambling a little bit here and there for entertainment. There's nothing wrong with consuming alcohol a little bit here and there for whatever, if you enjoy that, whatever. But when it's taken to excess, and you can't control that. I guess if you're a bartender, legally, I think if you're a bartender and you're serving someone who's like clearly blackout drunk, you're not supposed to keep serving them, and you're supposed to make sure they don't drive away from your establishment. But thankfully, there's no health concerns that in depth in Pokemon to where it's like, I mean, if someone's running themselves bankrupt from my eBay store, I don't know, and I can't help that. So I don't lose any sleep at night. Personally. Shadowless Red says something about having insurance for Nick's abandoned shopping cart slamming into your car in a parking lot. Brad G. Cards wants to know, do you think the Loch Ness Monster is real? I guess we can broaden it. We can broaden it, not just Loch Ness Monster. Do you think are there any cryptids that you believe are real?
Me, no. I don't believe in that stuff.
I live in Bigfoot country. Bigfoot's around somewhere. I'm gonna catch him one of these days.
God, do you actually believe in that?
No. The cryptids are so vast. There's so many different cryptids out there. I do not know all of them. There are probably some there's probably some obscure cryptids in like in the jungles and deep in the ocean. They're constantly finding new species that they never knew existed, right? So there's probably some amount of cryptids that are based on like somebody in a jungle saw some random creature that no one else had, and some lore gets built behind it. So some cryptids worldwide of the tens of thousands that exist are probably real, but I do not believe in the Loch Ness Monster. I do not believe in Bigfoot. I do not believe in Mothman. A lot of the mainstream ones like that.
Yeah.
Jacob wants to know... You don't
believe there's a pig skating around on bacon ice skates?
Oh, Griddle Greaser Pete is real, for sure. Griddle Greaser Pete, he was Paul, or he was real. He was Paul Bunyan's. He was like Paul Bunyan's. Paul Bunyan like captured him and like strapped bacon to his feet, and he made him grease the griddle for his pancakes. That's the lore behind Griddle Greaser Pete.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah. Jacob asks, most overrated and underrated Gen 1 Pokemon, excluding Charizard. Underrated Charmander. No, underrated Haunter. I really like Haunter. Underrated Haunter, overrated. Overrated, probably like Venusaur. I don't think he's even highly rated, but he's slacking.
Oh man,
he's slacking.
I was gonna do a controversial one and say underrated Venusaur, overrated
Ooh,
Blastoise.
Wow. my overrated hitting your underrated. That's interesting.
No, I'm with Gary King Pokemon. I like Venusaur better than Blastoise.
Oh, Jevel said they like my transparency. And I by no means, like, if someone leaves a comment, I never take offense. Like, if someone, feel free to comment anything. If you're commenting for or against whatever I'm saying or doing, like, I'm absolutely open to any conversation, any criticism, any debate. But seems like Jevel enjoys the transparency. It's weird that the biggest big business players in the Pokemon card market aren't that much of collectors anymore. I mean, shout out Rusty, TCA Gaming. He is buying tons of stuff. I can't speak for too many other people, but like I know Nick's trying to buy a $15,000 legendary collection theme deck case or whatever it is, 15,000. I feel like I'm selling more than most people. I think in like my position. I could be wrong there. But as far as my position in the hobby, wherever that is, I think I'm selling more than a lot of people. I mean, I don't know for certain, but Rusty just last year bought some big pieces from me. He's constantly talking in his videos about how, if this was just this morning, I was listening to one. If this was a CGC Perfect 10, I would add it to my collection. I forget what card it even was, but I remember hearing him say that. So yeah, I'm just one guy. I'm just one guy doing my thing. Nick can share his own thoughts or experiences on that.
Yeah, my collecting has definitely died down a little bit. I've sold a good portion of what I had, like the stuff that I collected back before going full time. I sold a good portion of that. But I still have a decent what I'd consider collection stuff that I really don't want to sell now, and really wouldn't sell until I'm hopefully much older. Yeah, no, I still do enjoy collecting certain things and finishing up certain goals that I started out with. But it's definitely, now that I'm full time, it's definitely more of a business type thing, and it is more so buying, selling, moving cards on, and not keeping as many cards. I know back when I was doing this as like part time, I'd get collections and keep a ton of cards from the collection because I just liked them. I'd be starting all types of new collections constantly, and you just can't do that as a business. That was one of the tough things for me, is kind of taking it more seriously as a business, I guess.
Yeah. Lot of funny commentary around overrated and underrated. People talking about Man Bear Pig. Love South Park. I need to get back into watching South Park. I've missed so much. I haven't watched much of it since college. Retrospect says, serious question. If Gary didn't do everything he did, would any of us be able to do this as a business at all?
Not a chance.
I think he did a ton. Obviously, I'm not trying to undersell what he did, but like the question is, would someone else have done it? Like what he did, he great businessman, found the opportunity, did that whole collaboration with getting the Japanese product and putting it on HSN, and I think that was big, getting Pokemon's foot in the door with PSA. But would someone behind him have done the same thing, just albeit a little bit later? I don't know. Like, it's hard to just universally say Gary is the sole reason that all this exists, but he is a big part of why it's doing what it's doing for sure. I think I very much appreciate my interactions with Gary over the years, and I very much appreciate what he's done for getting Pokemon established with PSA and all that. Because it makes business a lot easier. But I think people would still be able to do this full time. I think eventually, in an alternate universe where Gary didn't do everything he did, Pokemon could very likely still be like a raw card game that just wasn't as integrating. It could still be a thing. There would still be like LGSs doing it. So I don't think he was like the sole savior of everything and the sole reason any of us exist. But yeah, absolutely. He did it earlier, and he was the one to have done it. And it's great. Like it makes it much easier. I think I have this weird relationship with third-party grading where I like speak against the speculating and investing in some of it. I kind of pump the brakes down a little bit. I think some people are way too over zealous and bullish with some of the long-term price trajectories of it. But it is needed. It is great. It makes transacting in this space a lot easier. Third-party grading is absolutely necessary for our industry.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think because so Gary and Ed brought in grading through PSA. Had neither of them been into Pokemon back then, would Pokemon be something that people grade and collect, or would it be a playability card game and people collecting binders? Would it be something that everyone's collecting BGS cards instead of PSA? And then on top of just like the grading aspect, Gary and Ed both had to set pricing for these cards. There was no sales history to go off of. People didn't know what graded cards were for Pokemon. People weren't collecting these types of cards. So they literally had to decide, okay, what's the value of this card now that it's in plastic?
And Nick was out here.
They literally had to build that graded card market within Pokemon.
Nick was out here paper handsing it. I love that story. Oh god.
Trying to undercut the non-existent market.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think if someone like me came along and knew about grading and said, I'm gonna do this with Pokemon, that's exactly the strategy I would have done. I'm buying this card for $1. I'm spending $4 to grade it. Let me throw it up for $10-15. I'm still making an incredible amount of money, but their thought was, let me throw this card up for $50-$60, whatever the price points were. I forget back then, but whatever those price points were, because they knew that they couldn't start the pricing off super low. They almost had to like tell people that these cards are worth the premium. They are worth more. And I don't think many people could have done that.
Because if pricing's too low,
I definitely do think that.
If pricing's too low, people don't want it.
Exactly.
Price goes down because price goes down. Price goes up because price goes up. So if they had set the floor too low, if they had made things too low, like demand is super fickle. And if that's why I say too, like if and when things start going down, things can get dark really quickly because price goes down because price goes down, price goes up because price goes up. That happens way too much in Pokemon, and it's kind of scary. But yeah, with that, we're not going to take any new questions. We're a little after 4:30. We're going to wrap up now. Any other things to touch on? Just a reminder, 2 weeks, 4/20, April 20th. We will have Mr. Walrus on. We are very excited to have Mr. Walrus on in a couple weeks. So look forward to that. Leave your questions in the comments below when this goes into a normal like posted video with a comment section. Anything else to add?
No, I think we covered it. Thanks everyone for hanging out. It's always a fun time.
Yep. Thank you guys. We will catch you all later. Ended broadcast.